round 4 of a championship which is up and down and all around and has more twists and turns and turnabouts than Zebedee on the Magic Roundabout. This is, of course, the Major Series. This is, of course, the European zone of the Majors. Arguably the fiercest contested and arguably the strongest fields that you will see all season long. And this circuit, well, it is a circuit which encompasses all of what the United States has to offer, because the Circuit of the Americas is here in Austin, Texas. This is 2 hours. This is effectively an IMSA race, but this is the Sportscar Showdown in just 1 moment's time. Three categories of cars: Daytona prototypes, GTE, and GT3. 2 hours worth of action today at the Circuit of the Americas. 5.52 kilometers, 16 turns, pit stops, the whole kit and caboodle, you name it, we've got it here on RaceSpotTV, streaming live, of course, on iRacing Live. Good afternoon, heading towards good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am finally in a hashtag do you mind t-shirt. Mr. Hashtag do you mind himself, the observer of sim racing, Jake Sperry, joined alongside for the first time this season with arguably I'd say the brother from another mother that I have, Mr. Connery Maddock, here in the commentary booth. You've got Hugo Louis on the cameras for this one, and a very interesting event coming up for you because IMSA rules are going to be fully in effect. It's the second road event of the season, and this is an important one heading just before the 2.4 of the Nürburgring, which could look to throw a few spanners in the works. But practice is about to be over in about 4 seconds or so. Connery, welcome to the majors.
Yeah, I am very, very happy to be here. My first ever broadcast for the Majors series, and boy, this race is looking to be quite something here with the Chevrolet DPs, the prototype field. You've got your GTEs and your GT3s. It's a multi-class race, but not a team multi-class race. These are all solo drivers going for the full 2 hours here as they start to grid themselves up behind that iRacing roof pace car there, and this is going to be, I think this is going to be a tough one, actually. You have no team members to try and rely on here. It's just you, that car, multi-class racing, get it to the end.
And let's look at how the qualifying came off. Of course, it was pre-qualifying, so Chris Santiso seems to be the master of the Daytona prototype. C7 on pole, in front of Fraser Williamson, the Scotsman, a good friend of ours at RaceSpotTV in second. Andres Stilsans will start from third with Kurt Crum for Bombshell in fourth. James King, another Bushwink machine, in fifth with Joshua Wolf in sixth. Travis Henderson will start from seventh with Andrei Rajkovic starting off in eighth. The final three in that opening category: Michael Endres, Enrico Leonhardt, and Trevor Bobrovsky into GTEs, and it looks like a power-packed GTE field. Fernando Antley will start on pole position with Timu Valkiavi of Glacier Racing alongside Ricky Atulu's here. Riku Alatalo in third with Yoni Hagner in fourth. Jonas Vastamaki starts fifth with Antti Palaja in sixth, making it 5 Finns inside of the top 6. We all know which vehicle they want to practice for their championship they have coming up. Giuseppe Muya will start from 7th with Oya Jugo in 8th, with the championship leader Timu Toika starting off from 9th, and Marley Francis finishing out the top 10 in that category. You look, though, to your GT3s. Jamie Fluke, once again, showing that he is incredibly quick in that Apex Racing UK machine. Did not have a good time out at the Copper Classic. David Van Broek will start in second with Marcus Pappenbrock, Pete Harrod, Diogo Melro, Maciej Sakovic, Marcus Niskanen, and RaceSpotTV's very own Paul Smith. They're bringing Yorkshire to the pride of Austin, Texas. So a massive field, 42 vehicles crossing 3 categories, all looking for that chance of victory. The pace will be set, though, by Chris Santiso as they head through the long triple right-hander, looking for the left-hander of turn 19. And then the very, very easy to attack turn 20 will be what sets things off. The first safety car, though, will be looking to peel off down to pit road to begin this 2-hour process, and does so without any harm or foul. The field will stay behind the 426, who will round the final corner, will wait for the green flag to drop, and goes early, very early, catches everyone by surprise. Green flag then from Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas. Let's get things on the road. The run up to the very, very iconic turn number 1 up the hill, looking for the dive down to the inside, 2 wide, and James King makes it 3 wide here in your prototype field. Everyone gets through that. Finally, behind that though, Connery, Valkiavi seems a man under pressure. Here comes Vastamaki for Ava.
Yeah, exactly. It's down towards the inside as well. Will go the 914 car, Timu Valkavaji here. I will pronounce that name completely wrong for the entirety of this broadcast. I'm warning you right now. Through the S's the first time, though, GTE field will go single file, no issues at all. Looking back towards GT3, though, it's Jamie Fluke that leads Van Broek. Then it's going to be Pete Harrod there, getting himself up into P number 3 after Pappenbrock lost that spot at the start. Yeah, Marcus Pappenbrock had a horrendous start, and the gap already showing in your GT3 category. That much you can definitely say is becoming a bit of an issue in the early goings, though. But it's the backstretch for the first time. It's a hashtag turn 12 for your leading prototypes. Fraser Williamson looking to make the move on Chris Santiso. Santiso much better on the brakes as they get down into the left-hander. I think Williamson there was caught in 2 minds, and that Bushwink machine would not be too happy, or would be happy actually, if he had James King for a bit of help. But look at the aggressive line from Andres Stilsans as he headed through 13. Yeah, he had to actually get a little bit defensive there because James King was all over the back of him. So Stilsans in a little bit of a Team Bushwink Racing sandwich here. Not exactly the ideal situation that he wants to be in, but through the triple right-hander for the first time in this 2-hour event. It's still Santiso as Fraser Williamson. Such a huge wiggle there on the brakes coming into penultimate corner. But the thing is, there's enough runoff there so that he can get that car sorted out, get it back under control, and not hit a tyre barrier. And he has 42 incidents over 2 hours to work with. So yes, he can extend once or twice, but he can't afford to get involved too much. GTE battle going on. Oyer Jugo in the 29. He's looking to attack Marcus Simonson in the 779. Simpson's made some great progress off the start. Oyer Jugo has gone nowhere but backwards. 2 positions lost then in the early stages, and Jugo now looking to attack Simonson, who will go defensive up the hill in towards the left-hander. He's going to search for the outside. Not going to happen. Up and under attempt potentially there, but you're not really going to get this run from the right-hander of turn number 2, Connery. And I think that's where the up and under does not quite work as they head into the very notorious S's section. Yeah, I think Hugo is a bit optimistic there, trying to take it too wide through the S's. It's really just definitely a single line section here. There's nothing you can really do about it until you get on the exit coming off of the top of the hill. Around about here is when you can put the pedal to the metal and look to make that pass coming down into 11.
Well, there is some good news for Jamie Fluke right now. It's the fact that he's actually got past a GTE machine. He's through on Dawson Brock, who is really struggling so far today. And that's going to allow himself the gap to David Van Broek, which brings Pete Harrod back into the mix here. GT3 seems very open, I think is the right way to say it right now. A few packs already starting to form, and Papenbrock a man under pressure because Diogo Melro wants to start making the charge. The Portuguese man has a lot of affinity with the World GT Series.
Yes, he does, and we've seen him in other series as well, especially in the British Sim Racers series, as he looks to make this move coming down to the inside of 12. The 84 puts his car down towards the inside. This has an incident ahead of them, but they'll go side by side down through here anyway. Melro will only just come out on top, but the thing is there's enough room for Papenbrock to make his way down the inside of the next corner, turn number 13. But Papenbrock will eventually lose that position, and I think it was the car of David Baker, number 33, that got into issues coming down into turn 12.
Yeah, David H. Baker running into issues there. That was with Dion Jonker at the bottom end of your GTE field. That has opened up the door quite a little bit. Replay, though, up on screen in big capitals because we want to have a big look at this one. 2 into 1 doesn't go, Connery. And when you get yourself involved in front of the GT3 leader, you don't want to be having more incidents like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's just Dion Jonker just running straight into the back of the Ford ahead of him. Just a misjudge of the braking zone there, perhaps, on the part of Jonker, and as a result, it is completely kind of putting the damper on David Baker's race, as they are both way at the back of your GTE field now as a result of that one.
Yeah, and we've seen a change of position as well. James King is still there in 4th position. Kurt Crum there in 5th. So they're having their own little battles right now. And there is, of course, a teams battle that is going on as well. And Team Bushvink would like to try and push the issue as much as they can, especially knowing that Grizzly Motorsports aren't in their element here today, Connery. You look at the drivers like Travis Henderson and Joshua Wolf. They want to be forcing issues today. They want to be scoring some points. But you feel that today for that team, it's going to be more a case of damage limitation for them before they get to their better areas, such as, for example, the World 600.
Yeah, exactly. And well, some of these oval-based drivers will be, trying their best in these road races to try and limit the damage caused by what is a discipline that they are perhaps not too comfortable with. As I'm looking at the number 25 of James King right now, it seems to me, at least from my perspective, that he has some pretty heavy damage, in fact, to that driver's right-hand side of that Chevrolet DP. So that could definitely be affecting him.
It certainly could. Got a battle, though, for the GTE lead going on at the moment. Fernando Angeli Busquets against Ricky Atulu here from what is the Glacier Racing Boys. Well, it's nice to see Ricky Atulu not playing Counter-Strike and actually getting himself for the race close into the final corner. Checks up a little bit here in a Ferrari against the Ford there at the front of Fernando Angeli. Now, this is going to be an interesting balance of performance here, Connery, because for Fernando Angeli, yes, the Ford isn't normally run by those at the front, but that Ford is able to go longer on its fuel, and with 3 Ferraris chasing, I think Fernando Angeli is in a very good position if he can hold off the charge of the Finns.
Well, he's going to hold them off coming down through this SS section, because this is really playing to the strengths of that Ford, the high downforce sweeping S's. You can just see the Ferrari actually drops back just a tenth or so coming through here, so not as comfortable with the sweeping apexes as that Ford. But I think it's slightly messed up line there from Fernando Angeli coming up over the top of the hill. Puts Rico Alatalo back into a position to challenge, but well, he just gets a bad exit there, so he's not able to challenge coming down into turn number 11 unless he goes for a huge dive, which he chooses not to do. He's going to set up the run coming out of turn number 11 to challenge into 12.
Yes, and he's looking for that run. And it's worth talking about, though, here today, Connery, the fact that all the Finnish drivers are running GTE. Why, you ask? It's because their Finnish championship, I believe it's, well, I can't get the name right because my memory is absolutely dire, as it's a defensive move right now from Fernando Antoli against Ricky Atulu, going to the outside, bit of contact between the pair, and Fernando Antoli holds on just for the moment. But what I was going to say, Connery, is that the Finnish drivers, they have their big national championship, of course, broadcasted live on national television as well, and that's going to be done in the GTEs this year, whereas last year, well, that was a different story in the Porsches.
Yeah, it was, and well, the Finnish Sim Racing Championship, that is one of the very few sim racing events that actually takes place as a line final as well. So, as well as being broadcasted on the national TV up there in Finland, is a huge event to be a part of for these guys. And well, it's part of the reason, exactly as you say, that they're running these cars right now, trying to get that little bit of practice back in racing around other GTE cars as well. But things seem to be the status quo here coming for your GTE field. Antoli still leads up into turn number 1, followed by Alatalu and Valkiavi, and then Jonas Vastamaki there behind as that leading group of 4.
Yeah, and that leading group of 4 having a very good run of things at the moment. In GT3, though, it is a very firm breakaway at the moment for Mr. Jamie Fluke. He's already amassed, in the space of 10 minutes, a 5-second gap. And that's just testament to a world championship level driver like Jamie Fluke, able to be so adaptable, able to make sure that he can get everything working the way that he wants it to. And it's not often that you get to say that about a driver who can work multiple vehicles very, very quickly. It's the skill to this series.
Yeah, but it is, and I think Jamie Fluke is really going to come into his own in series like this, because I find him to be such an adaptable driver. I remember when he first tried his first couple of oval races way back a couple of years ago, he was pretty much, after only a couple of laps of practice, he was pretty much on the pace with some of the guys that were running at the top of the league I was running in the UK nightclub at that time. So he learns very, very quickly, is very adaptable, and he could be very, very scary in the series.
He certainly could. Got a battle going on. Markus Niskanen in the 002 machine. He's going up against Maciej Sakovic in the 924. And Maciej, here's a driver, part of Team Mad, has that tendency to go out there and really surprise people with what he is capable of doing. Other days, though, Connery, you sometimes see Maciej Sakovic in the back of the pack not doing anything at all. He is very much the wild card of this field. He can turn up on any given day that he likes, but the question is, what day is his day?
Yeah, that's the question you definitely have to be asking, as currently he's running in that mid-pack, solidly mid-pack in that GT3 field, as he closes right up to the back of Papenbrook, but the apex speed there was a little bit too much, caused him to drift wide a little bit on the exit of the corner, and slightly different line again, taking through this triple right-hander here. Not really hugging that inside line much is Sakovic, so let's just see how that works out for him, as the gaps do fluctuate here in the middle of your GT3 pack. This Diogo Melro there, currently heading up this back in the number 84, as he gets a slide coming out the final corner there. That's not going to do the tyres any good. It's not going to do his lap time any good, but it doesn't put him under threat.
Doesn't put him under threat at all from Marcus Papenbrock. A driver under threat, though, is your overall race leader, Chris Santiso, on the brakes into turn 12. The prime overtaking opportunity. And Fraser Williamson, he's closing that gap in. He wants to start thinking about getting this race lead and getting this race lead incredibly quickly, Connery. And Chris Santiso, he's not a driver that we see up at the front. Some drivers have an affinity to a certain vehicle. With Fraser Williamson, you would certainly say that his best ability is in a spec racer Ford. But this ain't a spec racer, this is a Daytona prototype. And do you feel that the drivers who selected this higher category have got away with it, Connery, just because of the popularity and the easiness to drive with GTE and GT3?
I'm not too sure about that one, because I know, well, at least in the specific example of Fraser Williamson, he does run these sorts of prototype cars quite a bit, so, and he's perhaps not as comfortable with actually the GT cars, since I haven't seen him run them that often. As deep on the brakes he goes up into turn number 1, so if he's able to run at the front of these prototypes, then why not choose the prototype?
Why not choose the prototype? Indeed, it is worth talking about Connery as well. Doesn't matter what category of class you are in, the points are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter where you are. It may help if you've got a slightly weaker field, one field to the other, but of course it's a two-headed coin. Those who don't have much ability in terms of to score those points, if they have a weaker field, they can score some really big points and gain up some levels in the championship.
Yeah, and that can lead on to the discussion as well, as we actually do have the SOFs of all three of your categories to hand. You've got 2,700 for your GT3 field, 3,000 for your GTE field, and again 3,000 for your prototype field. So looking at the numbers, you know, if iRating is anything to go by, your GT3 field will actually be your easiest in quote marks field to gain a good position. But the thing is, you have a World Championship Series driver there at the front of the field.
Well, that's never going to help you. You're never going to win if you've got a certain Mr. Jamie Fluke at the front. Technical issues then for Oyo Hugo, and that's going to mean that he's going to drop miles down the order, and that is a shame to see at this stage of the event. Still got Diogo Melro, though, under pressure in GT3 right now. Marcus Pappenbrock trying to get in on the action. Maciej Sakovic, Marcus Niskanen, and they've got a little bit of traffic trying to get through. Dion Jonker wants to get some positions, and they're actually all caught up right now behind David H. Baker. And when you've got a vehicle that's quicker than you but slower than you, oh, that has to be one of the most frustrating things I think you could ever see.
Yeah, exactly. And David Baker, a little bit of damage to the rear end of that for the sort of right-hand side of the diffuser. He's pushed up just a little bit there, so that's going to be affecting his overall downforce levels thanks to the reduced ground effect, as Diogo Melgo actually tries to go around his outside there, but not really going to happen in these GT3 machines, trying to overtake a GTE car, but that GTE car does seem to be rather off the pace.
It certainly seems to at the moment. Ricky Alatalo at the moment has dropped back to fourth in GTE. So we've seen now it's two trains of two. So Fernando Antoli, Teemu Valkjärvi versus Vastamaki and Riku Alatalo. So that's our front four as things stands. It seems that Valkjärvi unable to attack Antoli up this hill, but I think that Riku Alatalo may have a half a chance as he looks to get himself on the brakes, looking for an opportunity. Not sure if he's going to be close enough. The answer's no. So Alatalo, got to be careful with track position. Yes, the gap's a couple of seconds, Connery, but do you feel that track position in the early stages of this event is going to be a key to winning this one?
Yeah, I think so. It's just by virtue of the race being so short. Usually in these multi-class events, you'd be thinking, at least for you know, these sorts of things would usually be team events lasting 3 hours or more. But as the race gets shorter and shorter and shorter, the track position plays a much more of a bigger factor as Vastamaki gets so loose coming over the top of the hill here. Here comes the run from Alatalo, but I don't think he's going to sling one down the inside here at 11. So that is the strategy play that he is going to go for. A little bit of a brake check in the middle of the corner, a little bit of a Jason Plato move there for your BTCC fans there from Vastamaki. But here comes the drafting pass potentially for Alatalo into turn 12.
Well, the pass could be an opportunity. He will look to the inside. Ferrari on Ferrari on the brakes. Ricky Atulu looking for the podium and finds it. But the up and under attempt then from Fast and Lucky in Ava Sim Sports colours. Not going to go that way then for Jonas Vastamaki. So Jonas close. The cigars aren't quite lit at the moment. So that will stay as it is for the moment. At the front of the field, it's still Santiso from Williamson, but let's look a little bit further back on that. Andrej Rajkovic in the 99. Here's a driver I think can improve quite a bit in sim racing. He's in this scrap with Travis Henderson. This for P7 in your prototype category right now. Travis Henderson doing a very good job of things, just keeping the vehicle on the island, especially through this opening section, Connery. Sleeping policemen everywhere, and it's so easy to get caught out.
Yeah, exactly. It's those anti-cut curbs on the inside of those apexes there. They are basically a no-go in pretty much every car. You'd you know, if you don't get launched, you tend to ruin the floor, ruin the front of the car over those curbs as well. So it's not a place where you want to be going, and the drivers would be staying well away from those. As Rajkovic had a little half opportunity there coming down in towards turn number 11 because Henderson had pushed wide on entry just a little bit, but that will mean that Rajkovic can just stay behind just for now. But looking ahead though, you've got this battle between the number 7 and the 48. This is Kurt Crum versus Joshua Wolf here for P number 5 in your prototypes. They're gonna slice and dice it and make their way through this slow speed sort of middle to late sector here that you can just go too wide all the way through if you so wanted to, coming out at 10-12.
Yes, but that is a risk that you choose to take. Of course, also worth talking about is that there is going to be a rallycross track soon with Circuit of the Americas in the real world. So that's going to be a very interesting development to see how that fits in to the circuit layout and design at COTA. Always at the forefront of racing acumen. Josh Wolf, again, a good run coming out of the corner, but I think one of the issues that this Daytona prototype has is it does create a lot of wake cornering.
Yeah, the dirty air effect is, of course, a thing in these prototypes, not just exclusive to open-wheel cars. Any high downforce car will create a pretty significant wake behind it that these drivers just have to be well aware of, especially coming through a section like this where it's absolutely just downforce dependent. There's just no front-end grip. If you're trying to follow behind another car, that means you lose 1 or 2 tenths of a second coming through here if you follow a little bit too closely. But that is the issue that Joshua Wolf is dealing with right now, just running behind Kurt Crum. Of course, Kurt Crum is getting it a little bit from James King as well, so he hasn't exactly got any clear air here, but Joshua Wolf definitely the driver that's been dealing the most with it at this stage in this train.
Someone who's starting to try and make some gains is the 37 machine of Antti Palaya. Palaya in the 37 has managed to close up 0.6 of a second on that last lap in comparison to Jonas Vastamäki. So Vastamäki, he seems to be closed in right now, falling away from Ricky Atulu. So that means that Palaya could start thinking about making this move for 4th position. And right now, knowing that the leaders are only a few seconds down the road, it wouldn't be a bad call right now to start thinking about playing the aggressor's role, especially with how quiet and how orderly the race has been for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, Playa was about 0.6 of a second faster that last time by, so a 2:03.2 compared to a 2:03.8 there from Vastamäki, and well, that is well off the pace, especially of your leaders in GT3. They're running low 2:03s, Vastamäki running high 2:03s, so that car is struggling at this stage. Let's just see if that was a one-lap blip or if it's just an overall trend with how that car is running in terms of its tires, but Piala, he's right on the back now.
And I've also seen contact for the race leader, Chris Santiso. He was trying to get around Jan Mletz of GT3 traffic and just ended up running into the rear. The overspeed difference, air apparent. So Santiso gets a little bit of a love tap. I'm not sure how bad the damage is. He seems that he's got a little bit on the front. That's not going to be helping things in terms of, firstly, A, straight line speed, and then secondly, fuel saving ability, Connery. I think Chris Santiso might just have had one small issue as he's now got to get past Edu Vila.
Yep, he does. So down the inside of the Audi there in the slight kink down the hill towards turn number 11. Fraser Williamson will also get himself through very, very quickly, thankfully for him. So he doesn't have to be dealing with the slow car coming through turn number 11. But let's just see how the pace of Chris Santiso is now. With that little bit of damage to the front nose, I don't think it's going to affect him much. The what you would call a splitter on the stock cars there on the front of the car seems relatively intact. So that's just going to be sealing the car to the ground. It's just around about where the radiator, or rather the air intake, is there on that Daytona prototype. So I think he's going to be fine.
Kurt Crum under pressure now. Joshua Wolf right up to the rear through 12, in through 13, and able just to take that wider, more sweeping line at the moment is Kurt Crum in the bombshell machine. Kurt Crum, of course, His teammate Eric Mika, for example, didn't make it to top split, and that will be huge in terms of his points haul that he will be getting, and that was the Daytona 500 winner. Right now, Kurt Crum does not have a friend, does not have a teammate. He's got to do it all on his own, and he's got a bit of traffic to deal with in front because James King has done very well just to slowly eke out again.
Yeah, and Crum has been running decently well so far this race with about 11 laps done, going on to lap number 12 as he heads his way across the line there. Lost one position on his qualifying, but that's not too big of an issue, especially when you're running top 5 positions. So heading up into turn number 1, he goes as Joshua Wolf behind, just getting past Edu Vila in that Audi there. This is the traffic situation now for the prototypes. They don't want to be catching the traffic in this exact place. If we're watching James King right now, he's going to catch that car of Paul Smith ahead in well, not the worst spot, but it's definitely not an ideal spot, so he does have to lift out the throttle here. Just be aware that the lap traffic is going to be much slower through this high downforce section, and now he's going to get held up behind. He's going to lose time to the car ahead of Silsans, and finally he'll be let go. The thing is, that is a good couple of tenths lost there.
It is a good couple of tenths, but Paul Smith really didn't have much of a choice there, Connery, because the moment he slows down, he has to let 2-3 other vehicles try and get through, and then he puts his vehicle more in jeopardy because of that. So good heads-up driving there by Paul Smith, I will say as much at the moment. Antti Pelaaja, though, he's made his way through on Jonas Vastamarki. He did that into turn 12 as easy as you like, so Vastamarki drops back to 4th position. And just keeping an eye on that front 3, they are starting to get a bit more closer together. Ricky Atulu closes a 1/10 of a second, if not 2 tenths on that last lap. He brings himself within 1.1, and the moment he gets the draft, he will be closing right up Connery.
Yeah, he is the fastest driver, at least last time by, you know, in terms of the lap times. As actually your race leader for your GTE there, that Fernando Antoli just goes for a little bit of an off-track excursion there, coming through turn number 11. Luckily, he had enough of a gap to Valkiavi so that it wasn't too much of an issue. But you don't want to be having an issue coming out of turn number 11 because it compromises your run all the way down towards turn number 12, and that is a very, very long straight to be off the pace.
It is, and someone else who is struggling is anybody behind Diogo Melro, it seems, and Jarno Trulli would be proud of this train, and it's a train of multiple categories as well. Pappenbrock in there, Sakovic in there, Niskanen running deep as he tried to get past Dion Jonker once again, who is in that different category. And they are all being approached right now by Santiso and Williamson. And if you're Santiso, the last thing you want is a train of 5 to try and get yourself through, especially not in the amount of tight and twisty that this circuit has in sectors 1 and 3, Connery.
Yeah, that is definitely a main feature of this track. There's basically, you know, the 3 different sectors have basically 3 different fields. You've got the sector number 1, which is very reminiscent of the Maggots and Beckett section at Silverstone. And you come in towards sector 2 after that very long straight, where you've got just a very mechanical grip-dependent section with the very slow-speed corners. Then coming towards the end of the lap, you've got another set of high-speed corners again, and then your 2 90-degree right-handers to finish off the lap. So with the setups here, it can be quite tricky which part of the track you focus on. Do you focus on the high downforce corners, or do you focus on this slow speed sector?
Yes, it's pretty much put your toolkit down and say, has anybody got a hammer or a screwdriver? Doesn't matter, we're online. So that's the sort of reality they have to face, Connery, is the fact that they have a big difficulty in terms of choice and what they want to do. And I think that these early goings, this is the sort of feeling out your opponent sort of stage as well. So you're not maybe as inclined to make a move. You're sort of seeing, okay, this is the pace that you can run. I want to try and just stretch your legs a little bit. You may feel at 25 minutes, Pappenbrock thinks about making a move and doesn't into turn number 1. This is the sort of test your limits. What do you have available to you?
Yeah, as they head their way through the first sector once again. There's a car behind here, Dion Jonker, that ran into issues earlier on coming down into turn number 12. and he is trying to make his way back through the field here, but the thing is, he has a bunch of GT3 traffic right ahead of him that he can't really do much about when he's heading through this sort of section. There's not very many ways past here, so he just has to play it patient like a prototype would in this situation and just try and make his way by on the very long back straight. But here comes Sakovic, potentially with an opportunity heading down in towards turn number 11. Is he going to commit to this? A bit tentative on the brakes. The door was left slightly ajar, but he didn't go for the gamble.
No, he didn't, and Santiso, right behind all of this, got completely stuck behind Niskanen, despite the fact that Fraser Williamson had a mistake into turn number 1, cost him over a second. So Williamson coming back into this, but you can see the difference in top speed on the brakes they need to go. And, well, Williamson, he's 2 behind in the train. They leave the door open. There goes through 1. A second maybe for Williamson needed, but Santiso, he still has the vehicle gap at 2 right now as he looks to try and attack Melrose. He'll think about the inside. Melrose not going to quite give him the room. Hello, through he goes. That was about as close as you can get there. You could only get there through, and some may say there was a gap in David Letterman's teeth. I'd say there's a bit more there, and oh my goodness, contact there from Williamson on Marcus Pappenbrock.
Yeah, you just saw right there how eager Fraser Williamson was to get through on Pappenbrock there, as he'll dive down the inside of Diego Muro as well. So both bits of contact there, a bit of door rubbing for Santiso, a little bit of a bumper tap for Fraser Williamson, and both leading prototypes make their way through on those GT3 machines. But wow, that could have gone very, very wrong very quickly.
Oh, and straight on goes Valkiavi at turn number 12. Through goes Ricky Atulu up into position number 2. So Valkiavi, he just got caught up on the curb there, Connery. This race starting to get a bit of spark going on then with a bit of traffic. So Ricky Alatalo up into second, now looking to chase down Fernando Antoli, and suddenly it seems like Ricky Atulu has got the bit between his teeth and he wants to start charging.
Yeah, Ricky's pace has really, really been impressive over the last couple of laps. Gained 0.4 of a second on your leader alone. So that is how fast that Ferrari is running right now, and that's been the theme for the last couple of laps here. So not really all that fast on the opening couple of laps, but once he settles himself into this rhythm, Alatalo is a hard driver to stop.
Rico Alatalo is an ex-World Championship driver for a very specific reason. He is one of the quickest in the world when he puts his mind to it. Battled for 3rd in prototypes though. James King attacking Andres Silsans here in the 292. Silsans was falling into the clutches of the Bushfink machine, who looks for the inside. 3 wide we were thinking about here, with Diogo Mero on the outside with nowhere to go. They get past. Silsans will run wide. He will track extend, but he will get away with one there, Connery, because James King, he very much thought that he had a chance to go through. Look at the battle behind that as well. Kurt Crum trying to get through, being followed intensely, I'd say, by Joshua Wolf.
Yeah, and he's still stuck on the outside for what would be turn number 15 there. Joshua Wolf went his way down the inside of the lap traffic, but the thing is, Kurt Crum's going to get stuck behind the Mercedes here, has to brake, and Wolf could capitalize on this opportunity as long as he negotiates the GT3 car correctly, but it doesn't seem to be the case as he gets so loose coming over the apex of the corner, and Wolf will finally make his way down the inside of the final corner on the Mercedes, but yet again, it's traffic getting involved.
It is, but I think Joshua Wolf had the gap to make that move there, Connery, but would you say that he was maybe a bit too tentative to explore that gap?
I don't blame him for not going for that gap, because it looked briefly like the move was on, but the thing is, with the way the cars were moving across the track, I think it was a wise decision to actually just back out of that one.
Yeah, maybe a very wise decision indeed. The gap at the front, though, of your GT3 field, get this, it's 20 seconds right now for Jamie Fluke. And I'm pretty sure Jamie Fluke has only just woken up or something like that. You know, you could put an excuse in actually for Jamie Fluke and he'd be that far ahead, it seems.
Yeah, it's just an absolutely dominant performance from him, and this is just why I said that he's going to be so threatening in this series, because as well as being an insanely accomplished road racing driver, he's got the skills on the ovals as well to be dealing with. I haven't actually seen him in an IndyCar yet, which is an interesting point we'll get to a little bit later on in this series, but it's just, he is one of the championship contenders at this point.
I will say that Apex made a concerted effort to try and go for the iRacing Indy 500 last year. Marcus Jensen and Kevin Ellis Jr. were in that mix looking for it. Of course, the race was won in the end by Christopher Demerit, and he will be looking to try and become the first back-to-back winner, the first two-time winner in the iRacing Indy 500. The month of May, as Will Vincent would always have us say. Ricky Atulu, Riku Alatalo, 813, all over the rear of Busquets. And there was Fernando Antoli down to the inside trying to defend. Door wide open, trying to open up the run now off of this exit. He gets a fantastic run. The door has to be open for Ricky Atulu, who is going defensive. This is a great little scrap between the pair. Antoli went to go absolute defense, and absolute defense. He went and a little bit more. So searching for the move down this straight. Looking at turn 12, and again, Antoli on the outside trying to open up the corner, up and under, runs out of road though. Ricky Atulu to the front of the field.
Fraser Williamson around.
Uh-oh.
5.62, the driver that was running second place in your prototype field, has had a spin of some kind coming up towards turn number 1. And was it self-inflicted? It was self-inflicted. Locking up the brakes, car just rotated around, and he had to wait so long for the rest of the drivers to head their way through before rejoining.
And he's out. Fraser Williamson is out of the event, though. That is game over. And Fraser Williamson, well, he's made a couple of mistakes like that, and I think that's it for him. And it's a shame to see him fall out of this event like so, but Fraser Williamson is out of your prototype field. This changes everything, though, in terms of the racing, because now Chris Santiso holds himself at least a 7-second gap right now over Andres Silstans. James King is in 3rd position. Kurt Crum now up to 4th. Josh Wolf up into 5th. And the absence of Fraser Williamson now gives all these drivers an extra bit of bonus points to be working with. And that's what everybody wants, Connery, is a few more points to play with at the table.
They do, and it's been given as a gift from the young Scotsman. I don't understand that decision to just park the car after a spin like that. You can just get back out there on track. We've got 1 hour and 26 minutes left to go. You can recover from this. You can recover as many, quite a few points from this because of how fast of a driver Fraser Williamson is. So I just don't understand that decision.
Well, I'll have to have a look exactly at what happened there, Connery, because I was having a look at what happened to Williamson. I will have to get back to you on that one, but Williamson was making good progress, but in the end, race pretty much done, I'd feel.
Yeah, it is, and here comes the 37 in the 585 here. This is Santi Piala getting overtaken, or in the process of getting overtaken by Moya here, and Giuseppe Moya will head his way around, well, even before the braking zone, coming in towards turn number 12, and will gain that position over Piala. So that is a interesting move there. I don't think Anti fought that one too much.
No, he didn't. Giuseppe Moya, Club Italy. It's nice to see the Italians having a very good run of things. They always seem to be there or thereabouts. You talk about the likes of Thrustmaster Movano, which has turned more international in recent times, but you look at these Italian drivers, they do surprise you with how quick they can be. They're almost the forgotten drivers of sim racing, almost the same as the French sim racers.
Yep, they are. You just got to look at the pace of a couple of the other Italian drivers as well. You've got the likes of Michele Constantini, who's making a great run of things in the Friday night primetime IndyCar races that we have, as well as a couple of the other Italian drivers in that particular series as well. So a very, very strong country in terms of the iRacing service that, well, they don't get all that much credit for sometimes, but Moya is running very, very well here, P4.
Running very well indeed, and all of a sudden Atulu has broken a second, and now it's Teemu Valkiavi's turn to attack Fernando Antoli. The difference on that last lap, 1/10 of a second. I have an idea, Mr. Director Man, Hugo Louise. I want to go RaceSpotTV fan immersion. I want to go RaceSpotTV fan immersion on Teemu Valkiavi in the 914 machine. Here is a driver, one of the very first drivers I knew in all of sim racing. And that says quite a bit about how long Valkiavi's been around this post, because he is one of those drivers that you know that he's been around for a while and he can do quite a bit. Fan immersion on RaceSpotTV. race CT with Algarve just falling back ever so slightly over that last lap in comparison to Fernando Antli, the 2:04.4 in comparison to the 2:04.2 that the Ford had available to it. So contrasting times here and there, they keep on ever changing when it comes to the major series, and you have to be careful when you get yourself into a situation like that, as we've got a battle going on right now. Marcus Papenbrock versus Marcus Niskanen. Marcus on Marcus action, as Niskanen seems to stay behind the driver of Papenbrock. Papenbrock in the MSP Phoenix Racing colours. So Papenbrock with a bit of help on his side, but Marcus Niskanen, certainly no slouch, certainly able to go out there and really give a good attack in the 002, currently standing 6th in class.
Yeah, and that 002 car, the door was open there, coming down through the left-hand apex there at the end of the S's section, but he didn't decide to go for it, as Niskanen definitely looks like he has the pace over Papenbrock at this stage. Good run off the top of the hill, down towards turn number 11. Will he go for the dive? No, he will not go for the dive. But Papenbrock sort of outbrakes himself there, locks up the brakes coming through the middle of the corner. And now this is Niskanen's chance to try and get that draft pass off the corner. But that is a very good amount of traction that Papenbrock has managed to get himself off of turn number 11 to try and defend this move coming down this very, very long back straight indeed. I don't think Niskanen's going to be close enough. He's going to have a look anyway, just to try and scare Papenbrock into outbraking himself yet again. And, oh, he almost does, in fact, as well. Struggles to get that car slowed down for the apex. Niskanen, can he dive down the inside of the right here? No, he's not. He's playing it very patiently.
He's got good Smart Racing colours on, and it doesn't matter how many Vocaloids you can put on your livery. It seems that Hatsune Miku will not be helping you make that move. Try again down the inside. There's the check up. Niskanen checks. Sakovic checks up in the Team Mad Machine as well. And the door left slightly open, but that door, as quickly as it opened, closed again. And that was almost like finding yourself at an intersection turning the wrong way.
Yeah, meanwhile, we've had our first scheduled stop in your prototype field. That's the number 25 of James King. So the driver in Team Bushring Racing colours heads his way back out there on circuit. Doesn't have much traffic to deal with, just the car of his own class there. That's Michael Endres that he has to get himself past. But we expect a couple of good outlaps from him now with that clear air to be able to work with. As this Niskanen and Papenbrock battle still going on up and towards turn number 1, and this is just slightly allowing Diego Maro to get himself off and away a little bit. Here goes Vorosky in the prototype, dives down the inside, not a care in the world for the GT3 race. He just wants to get himself through.
Well, he wants to in 9th position, and of course the opening up of the prototype pit strategy as well. This is very much what I call a 2-stop race, Connery, but in theory it's a 1.5 stop race for these prototypes, because that second stop should be a little bit shorter, especially the fact that they're going 40-45 minutes, and if you're really fuel saving, maybe even 50 minutes on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, those are the numbers we're kind of looking at. Sakovic in the 924 again. He's just going to go a little bit wide, a little bit of oversteer coming off of turn number 11 as well. There's Leonhardt here coming down the driver's left-hand side in that prototype. So the gaps are a little bit too spread out to be making any moves down in towards turn number 12 here, unless Sakovic can actually use the prototype as a pick to head his way down the inside. But that prototype is getting itself in trouble coming down into the braking zone. Tags Niskanen out towards the runoff area, and wow, that was a little bit embarrassing from the 541.
It was. That was Enrico Leonhardt just getting all out of shape, and on Niskanen, it's so difficult at that section of track. You need to be eagle-eyed because that corner, Connery, is so wide. When you head your way through, it's so easy for you to really lose sight of the vehicle on your inside.
Yeah, it is, and you know, especially with those drivers on a sort of single screen, it's going to be very hard to actually see that apex if you parked yourself on the entries of the corner on the curb. It's basically you're turning the car, and then all of a sudden the apex comes into view, and you're able to hit it. So that's one of the benefits that the drivers they're using VR and of course triple screens that you can actually see the apex of the corner on entry where the single screen drivers don't.
3 vehicles out of the 42 who have started are classified as out. Oyer Hugo, Adam Hedgecock and Fraser Williamson are the 3 names that are out of the event as things stand. Santiso leads this one at the moment as he heads his way through a little bit of traffic at the moment as the 84 machine has made his way through on the 791. So that is Diogo Melro still ahead then of Marcus Papenbrock. Enrico Leonhardt just waiting in the wings. So it's a waiting game. It's pretty much, they were close. They were very close on that last lap, Connery, but right now, Papenbrock hoping for a way to get past Melro, and nobody seems to have found a solution at this stage as Santiso stays out, and we wonder whether anyone else will come in. Sil Sanz makes a dive.
Yes, he does. So Sil Sanz is down between the yellow cones. That denotes where the pit lane speed limit is in effect here on the iRacing service. And will he be the only car down on towards the lane? Right now, in his own class, the answer is going to be no right now, as Henderson and Rajkovic, they decide to stay out at least one more lap. But heading back to this battle involving Melro and Papenbrook, because it is the most exciting battle out there on circuit right now. And Melro, you have to say, he's running very good defensive lines at this moment in time, keeping all of these faster drivers behind him. We saw a little bit of Melro train just a little bit earlier on in this event, but the thing is, he's still in this P number 29 overall.
He is in P number 29 overall. I think he's doing a very good job of things. Keep an eye out, though, on James King, as he has got a very decisive jump over Andres Sil Sanz. So up into second place net on circuit goes James King. But you are right, though, in terms of what Papenbrock and Melro are doing. They're able right now, Connery, to run some very, very good lap times, keep off, or stave off the drivers that are behind. And because they have been able to do that, they're in a position right now where they're thinking, well, okay, we've not run into any issues. We've not got too many problems going on right now. What's the worst that can happen if we stay out here, keep on fighting, and, you know, just running our own race?
Yeah, especially when you consider the next car down the road, number 21, Pete Harris, heading his way into turn number 11 now, as Melro and Papenbrook are just heading their way through the latter part of the first sector. So that is a pretty considerable gap to be dealing with. And now, if you're these drivers, do you start thinking maybe P number 3 is starting to be out of the question here? So we might as well just fight for P number 4 at this stage. And this gap has been fluctuating up and down over the past couple of laps, and I'm just noticing these cars are also getting very, very tail happy coming out of 12 as well, as the number 7 Kurt Crum heads his way down towards the for prototypes. So these prototypes coming in one by one, trying to figure out what is the best strategy to go for in terms of the field.
One by one, they will all find themselves in. Kurt Crum is the only driver to fall onto the lane, as we still have Andre Rajkovic versus Travis Henderson going on out on circuit. We'll keep an eye on that one as Crum's pit stop, looking for fuel, maybe looking for tyres as well. That could be a potential, but James King will find his way through, as will Andres Sil Sanz. We should expect Kurt Crum out right about now and onto the power, waiting for the green cone and going away, and a little bit delayed going away, I think it had to be said there. Has a bit of traffic though on the exit, has to be careful about that. Kurt Crum then out and away as the 24 and the 99 continue, Rajkovic and Henderson.
Yes, they do, and well, it's the battle for P number 4 in your prototype field. So Henderson, Rajkovic, well, Henderson runs so wide coming through turn number 11, but still manages to get the traction off the corner. A wide entry there does benefit you off the corner, but that wasn't a deliberate wide entry. Let me tell you that he definitely outbroke himself coming down into that corner. But Rajkovic, he potentially has an opportunity here coming down into turn number 12. Is he going to commit to this move? He's going to be tentative on the brakes. Slings one down the inside, but Tenson's going to cut him off.
Well, he ran out of road there, did Rajkovic. He thought about making the move, it wasn't there. And then when he fought himself to the inside, it didn't look like he was going to make the corner much. So Rajkovic runs into Henderson, and Rajkovic pays the price for that. And I'm pretty sure Rajkovic will not be happy at the way that incident happened, because Henderson took his line. Yes, he cut off the nose, but it is worth talking about this, Connery. We've said it already, that corner is very wide. It's so wide, in fact, that you can easily get an all clear when you're side by side.
Yeah, these drivers do have the iRacing automated spotter enabled, or at least they should have the iRacing automated spotter enabled if they don't have a real-life person calling the shots from behind the scenes. But yeah, that's the situation that you sometimes see coming down into that corner because of how wide the entry is. You know, lots of cutting off of the noses of cars trying to dive down the inside, and it's not always the fault of the car that comes down on the other driver.
No, it's not. Into the pits then comes Andrej Rajkovic, as now Marcus Papenbrock becomes a man under pressure because Maciej Sakovic is down to the inside. Maciej Sakovic is going to make the move, and just in front of a certain Ricky Atulu, who's trying to get through the lap traffic right now, will not be appreciative of the battling that is going on in GT3 at this moment in time. Gets through one, looks to get through two, just about there on Maciej Sakovic, before Diogo Melro will be the next vehicle on the road. A little bit of a wide line there, Ricky Atulu, no harm, no foul, but all of this traffic there allowing Fernando Antley to think about getting back into this one has brought that gap still within about a second at the moment, Connery. That's what he was wanting to see at this stage right now. The difference, 0.996.
It is, as these GTE cars deal with the GTP traffic heading up in towards turn number 1. Rico Altalo is going to head himself through on this one, and Fernando Antley is going to be stuck behind the GT3 car in this SS section, which is going to be brilliant for him. So, but looking at the pit lane situation for now, will be your GTE car starting to trickle in. We've had Giuseppe Moya head his way down on towards the lane. And right now, Busquets, he's trying desperately to get past Diogo Melro coming off of this SS section right now. He finally does make his way through, but that is quite a bit of time lost, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you what is very telling in terms of time. Chris Santiso was doing 58.5s, 58s, 59s in the early stages. The tyre drop-off, he's now on 2:01.3s when it comes to the lap times that he's putting in. So 3-second drop-off at the moment between the fastest laps and the lap times that Santiso's doing. And let's not forget that he's got to come in and do his stop. But by the same point, yes, there's been traffic, but yes, I think Santiso's been fuel saving quite aggressively in this event.
It definitely looks to be the case. Looking at the stop times for the prototype field, we've got fastest stop so far has been a 16-second stop from James King, but then you've got a 17-second stop from Cesans, you've got a 21-second stop for Kurt Krum, and I'm going to take the wild guess here that all of those have been no tyre stops as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these tyres actually hold up.
Yes, it will, and the longer that this race goes, the tyres will get more and more Raggedy Ann, as sometimes it is said, so they have to be careful about what happens and how they manage those tyres, because you don't have too many of them. You can pit in, you can get as many as you want, but you want to be on as few tyres as possible to make your life just that little bit easier in terms of your overall pit stop time. That's what we call Connery. It's gaining the time wherever you can.
Yeah, exactly, and it's definitely what is required in these prototypes because of how wide the pit strategy is right now. We've got cars out there, still out there on the tyres and what is remaining of the fuel they started with, and we've got other cars that are going on 5, 6 lap old tyres, cars on 2 lap old tyres, well, if they took tyres, of course, and you know, cars that are just pitted just that last time by, and we still have yet to see about half of your prototypes head their way down towards the lane, so this could really mix things up for the end of the race.
It can mix things up, and it makes things careful. Paul Smith runs into issues, and that doesn't look good in Paul Smith's favour. And he's done it a lot more before because he's had contact with Hector Pereira. He's been turned at, I believe that is the left-hander of turn 15. I think he had damage on the suspension before he even got into the spin on the exit there. Paul Smith in a bad way, but he will be lucky though, Connery, because there is one fast repair for the series.
There is, so if you can get it down towards the lane, you can get that car repaired at no extra stop time, shall we say, as it was contact, in fact, with Hector Pereira, the 5.93 car down in towards that turn number 15 complex. That basically messed up the entirety of that left-hand suspension, and once he tried to get the power down, the car wasn't having any of it, decided to head its way into the, what's going to be Tech Pro barrier there, not tyre wall.
Yes, a Tech Pro barrier. So Paul Smith, Smiler Bull, looking a bit frowny bull at the moment, you'd say, Connery.
Yeah, definitely. He hasn't really been having the most ideal of days. He, of course, had that earlier spin as well, which didn't exactly help things. And he is, in fact, on pit lane right now, just actually taking tires as well for that Mercedes, as well as taking that fast repair and, of course, topping it off with fuel. So a full service here for Mr. Paul Smith, and hopefully he'll be getting his way off and away relatively shortly, but it puts him definitely on the back foot at this stage.
It certainly does. 3 vehicles yet to stop from the front of the field in your prototype category. Chris Santiso, the race leader, Josh Wolf, Travis Henderson, those are the 3 that you've got. James King running 2-minute .5s right now, as in comes your race leader, who had been running the low 2 minutes, changing it up to 2-minute 1 lap time, so he'd be very intermittent with what he could do. So Santiso will look for the lane. He'll be the final box then on pit road. He will look for that opportunity just to get down, and he does so perfectly, getting on to his markers. The question next, Josh Wolf seems to follow in at 55 minutes. Travis Henderson will also go in at the end of his fuel life. That will release James King then through the final corner. The opportunity now for Santiso, starting to wear thin a little bit, but he'll be able to save time when it comes to his stop. It's a long stop for Chris Santiso. He gets away, but crucially enough, it's Bushfink who holds the lead of this event once again, Connery.
Yep, it is. And Silsanz will actually try to head his way by. Is there's going to be contact here coming down in towards turn number 1 as your ex-race leader comes off of the lane. Door-to-door contact between the prototypes there. And that could have been much more messy than it was. It's only going to be some minor side damage to both of those cars. But wow, that's how desperate Santiso was to get out ahead of Silsanz there.
Yeah, he needed that position number 2. He did not want to be fighting. He will have himself a better opportunity to attack now, but he's got Fraser Williamson, who's come back out onto circuit 9 laps down, so he's decided, you know what, I'll give it another go. At the moment, you also see the likes of James King. Now, this is where this prototype battle is going to get very interesting, Connery, because James King has the advantage. He's going to be spending a lot longer on the lane on that second stop because wasn't able to go as long. A full 10 minutes, I believe, was what we were looking at in terms of time. That's an extra, what, 4 or 5 seconds that he may have to spend on the lane as he runs so far deep into the left-hander. The pressure of being the leader is telling.
Yeah, it is. Completely outbroke himself, and he's going to miss out the second apex of that complex as well. And let's just see how he makes his way through here now as he tries to settle the car down. That car just doesn't look comfortable at all.
No, it doesn't, and we've had an different places in the circuit. Pappenbrock's run into technical difficulties. He is out of the event, so Marcus Pappenbrock, that's the race pretty much gone for him as we are heading towards the hour mark on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Don't forget, you can catch more action of the Sportscar Showdown if you want to. We've already seen the likes of what has happened with V8s Online. You can catch our good friends at LSR TV and the Global Sim Racing channel for the Atlantic and Pacific sprints. 585 and 593 in a scrap right now. Giuseppe Muya and Hector Pereira out on circuit. And Pereira, we've already seen get involved in issues. I believe Giuseppe Muya, 2 seconds quicker on that last lap, has made a stop. So Muya's come in, Pereira not quick enough. Pereira, I think, is going to fall away here, Connery.
Yeah, he still hasn't come in yet for any fresher rubber or even or any fuel, so he's just going to be dropping off the back of Moya here. So this won't be about for very long. In fact, Moya is just stretching this gap by the corner, every corner, so it's not one to really start talking about. But the driver to start talking about is actually the driver behind Pereira right now. That's Nicholas Rotti there, who also has not made a stop. So this is more of a battle that Pereira can fight.
It is, so it's defensive driving now for Hector Pereira as Nicola Rotti wants to think about the 235, making positions on the brakes into turn number 12. Very pedestrian-like as they have behind them the race leader, James King, who will want to make his way through the gap. 1.9 seconds at the moment between himself and Chris Santiso, so has to be very, very careful at this stage. So James King, he's approaching where he needs to, Connery, but Nicola Rotti here, Hector Pereira, both of them looking like they are about to get put a lap down.
Yeah, this is going to happen sooner rather than later, perhaps before even the lap is done for at least one of them. But King's going to be patient here coming down through the penultimate corner, and neither driver decides to head their way down on towards the lane, so they'll stay at least one more lap. So will the majority of your GTE field, but we've had people that have come down towards the lane. We've had Valky Yarvi come down, and we've had Timu Toika as well. That's still currently stationary in his box.
Yep, Timu Toika on the lane, the championship leader at the moment, pulls off of pit road, looks to get outgoing again.
Oh, Santiso.
Oh, hello, Santiso. That's not what we want to be seeing from you, as he went very desperately down to the inside, pretty much outbroke himself there, had to get the slide on, and in the end it's a 90-degree turn. Does very well, actually, I thought, Connery, to keep that vehicle going, losing minimal time possible.
One slightly more acute than 90 degrees there, there, Jake, but the result is the same for Santisto. He exactly just completely lost it coming from the middle of the corner, actually clouded the curb a little bit, which didn't exactly help, but he was already spinning before that point anyway. But that is a good second or so lost by Santisto now, which he didn't really need. This is giving more of a buffer for King to work with on his strategy.
Well, I did mean the 90-degree spin after the 150th the corner, but that's by the by. We've got the P4 battle going on in prototypes as well. Kurt Crum under immense amounts of pressure now, as Josh Wolf, who has been there pretty much for the entirety of this event, is now thinking about, okay, we can start making some progress here. We can start making moves for this fourth position. The 7 machine under that pressure to the inside, thinking Josh Wolf. Well, you can see his process there. He thought, okay, we may be going down the inside, even though we don't quite want to. So, Josh Wolf, got to be a little bit more careful with those brakes there, son.
Just a little bit, but looking at the stop times, he's taken a couple of seconds more fuel than Kurt Crum. That's going to affect the way that car handles very, very slightly, but not by a huge margin at all as they head their way through this very unique triple right-hander. It reminds me of the Istanbul racing circuit, except it goes the wrong way.
Yes, it certainly does. On the pit road right now in GTE, we've got Jonas Vastermaki making his one and only pit stop. On the lane is Marco Penttinen right now. Andreas Robertson in as GT3 now thinks about making the stop. In is Nicola Rotti, who we saw in that little scrap earlier on as well. As now Dawson Brock also looks to make his stop. Dawson Brock really struggling today.
Yeah, it definitely looks to be that way, and it doesn't look like things are really going to be improving for him either, but let's see what he can do in the final hour of this race. He does have a little bit of damage to the front left of that Ferrari, and I was wondering if he's going to get the fast repair here. He's actually not going to take the fast repair for that one, so that part of the car is going to remain at least partially damaged. Of course, the mechanics can still work on it here while he's taking his service, albeit a very, very minor amount. But I think he's just decided, well, this damage isn't affecting me that much, so what's the point in wasting a fast repair on it?
Yeah, that is very much the case. I wonder if Van Broek has made a stop or not, because he had a 2:21 lap on lap 25, but that doesn't seem like a pit stop with there, Connery.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and confirm this one for you if my team decides to behave with that one, as he is currently off of my screen, so I'll check that one for you right now.
Yep, no worries. I'll just keep things rolling hunky and dory, as it's still Ricky Atulu in the category of GTE who has the lead over Fernando Angeli, who dives down in onto pit road. The Fords, known for their fuel-saving ability, this could come back to help in terms of the long-term strategy. So Angeli has come in. The 11, though, Connery, you believe has not stopped, so therefore had a mistake on circuit.
Yeah, it looks to be the case. Yeah, he hasn't headed his way down towards lane, no stop time recorded for him, so must have been a mistake somewhere out there that has put him just a little bit behind here, back into well, what looks to be the clutches of Dawson Broek there. It's actually in the GTE car that's currently trying to lap him, but yep, David Van Broek, not really the sort of lap that he kind of wanted at this stage. He did a 2:08.5, a 2:82 that last 2:08.292. Sorry, that last time by this lap doesn't seem to be as fast as those ones. But looking back towards the front of your prototype field, Kurt Crum, Joshua Wolf. This battle is still going on, and it's still Kurt Crum ahead of Wolf, despite Wolf's best efforts.
Well, I think Joshua Wolf hasn't been able to make that move. I think he's been very close, but I don't think that he's had that ability to go out there and really push a measure forward. And I think the more that Kurt Crum stays in front, I think the more of the advantage he's going to feel like he's going to have, because where it matters, heading into corners like this one at turn 11, it seems that he's just got all the advantage in the world, because someone like Josh Wolf is just going to get that one all shades of wrong, and well, that's going to be another opportunity wasted.
Yeah, and I have to bring up the top hit again, but I've seen a lot of these cars just sliding through these corners, and I don't think the track is really all that greasy. It did start with 0% track usage, but of course they've had practice and of course the well, the hour of racing that we've already had, so it can't be that slick. Plus it is mostly cloudy, track temperature 34 degrees, so it should theoretically be fine, but I've seen these prototypes especially just slide all over the place.
The one thing I would say, Connery, is the fact that we've got 85% humidity. Do you feel that that could do anything?
No. I don't think so. Joshua Wolf, oh, he just gets a tank slapper off of the exit of turn number 15 over the curbs, and the curbs here at Circuit of the Americas aren't really all that forgiving, but he still manages to keep it pointed in the right direction. At least he has that going for him, but he has lost time to get Crum here.
David Van Broek and Diogo Melro are on pit road as we speak, so Melro releases a handful of drivers looking to move forward, looking to try and push on with things. So Melro makes his one and only stop then for the day in this 2-hour race that we've got on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live, as does Van Broek. And something else that I've been keeping my eye on is that gap at the front of that prototype field. Chris Santiso is starting to struggle a little bit here, Connery, and it's not the struggle that many would like to see out of Santiso, because suddenly James King is finding himself, with the damage that he's got, 0.4 of a second a lap quicker.
Yeah, that definitely looks to be the case, because look, you've got 2:01.4 from Chris Santiso that last time by a 2-minute flat 0.6 for King. Is Santiso had another issue coming off of turn number 11. That car just doesn't seem planted through the middle of the corners at all. It just slides all the way through the apex. You get more tenths of a second loss from the 4.26, your pole position sitter. And it just doesn't look like that car is just behaving in the way he expects. Again, he has trouble getting into the corner for turn number 12. That car just isn't healthy.
Here comes Jody Hagner, though, in the 298 machine, looking down to the inside, trying to get past Hector Pereira, and comfortably, it seems, into that left-hander, as the up and under attempt will come along, but not close enough. Hagner makes the move. We've seen the likes of Ricky Atulu make a stop, though, and that's brought back in Fernando Antoli into the picture, which is going to be very, very telling. But we've got a battle just in front of them, or we did, as James Merrills and Edu Villa went side by side. Antti Palaya's down the lane, so is Dion Jonker. Pit stop window fully in swing. That will allow the GTE lead, to go back to Ricky Atulu, Rico Alatalo. But Fernando Antoli has not gone anywhere, and that is a very telling factor.
It is, as Antipiello heads his way off of the lane, and he'll make it side by side briefly with the prototype driver there of Andres Silson there, and he will get himself out ahead of Giuseppe Moya. So that is very, very important for Piala's race. That was the driver he was fighting with before even the pit stops came into effect. And another thing for him to be happy about is that Moya's going to get held up by the briefly by the prototype there, which isn't the way around I was expecting that to be, but it's just the facts of the situation.
And I think there's a difference between GTE and prototypes, because those prototypes, yes, they can go full bore, but do you feel that they struggle maybe a little bit more in those lower and more technical section parts of the tracks to try and get past vehicles?
Yeah, they do. It's much more of an equal playing field between the classes in the lower speed corners, and you know, because you just got to look at that prototype to see why. It's mainly focused on the high downforce, but the thing is, you don't need high downforce coming through slow speed corners, so that means the playing field is leveled, and it makes it a little bit trickier for those prototypes to get past lap traffic in the slower speed corners. But that is just the state of things that they have to deal with. There's still Sans pushes a bit wide there coming through turn number 12, but the thing is, there's really no drivers around him that could really punish that sort of mistake.
Oh, and I'm just looking at James King at the moment here, Connery, because he's found the leading battle in your GTE field. He's found Fernando Antoli. He's found Ricky Atulu. Down to the inside goes James King. He gets 1, and I think he will want to get 2 as well. And I think Fernando Antoli wants to see this one happen into a corner. Big wide line from James King. He knows the importance of this situation. Will now start to pull away from the driver of Fernando Antoli. Atulu should let this one go into turn number 1 if King's aggressive on the brakes. If not, it's going to have to be a very long wait, and not a wait that's wanted. Again, another little slide there, Connery. You keep noting that as around the outside will go James King, looking to make this happen on Ricky Atulu, and Atulu lets him have it there, and Atulu gains himself 0.3 of a second in that section.
I keep mentioning it because I keep getting surprised every time I see it, but maybe I should stop being surprised and just accept it as the norm at this point. But that just really can't be healthy for King's tires at all. Like sliding like that through the apexes of the corners and just putting those abrasions on the tires. It's just not really going to help, especially if he's double stinted those tires. If he hasn't taken those hadn't taken tires in that first stop, again he has another slide. Stop sliding it, King.
Stop sliding, he's struggling, and this is only allowing Santiso to come back into the party. Difference on that last lap was a 2-minute .4 from Santiso, 2:01.6 from James King with traffic. That was 1.2 seconds closed down. The gap came down to 3.2 seconds between the pair of them on the brakes into turn number 12 as Santiso looks to give chase. And he will see the carrot on the stick in front. He will see where the bush fink is. And it doesn't matter how pretty the little bird is on the side, Connery. It's a matter of fact. He's being reeled back in again, and it's not helpful, and it's certainly not healthy.
It's not, but you know, the only saving grace right now for James King is that he has 2 bits of lap traffic in between him and Chris Santiso, as Santiso has actually found a little bit of pace in the, well, on that last lap at least. He did a 2-minute flat .4, which was kind of what the leader was running just a couple of laps ago. So Santiso finding a little bit more pace in that car to drag himself back up towards that your leader, and that gap is now down to 2.7 seconds. Car coming off the lane. That is your GT3 leader, Jamie Fluke, as he will just back out of that one, just allow Chris Santiso to go through. That is good heads-up driving coming off the lane.
And Jamie Fluke, if I've got this correct, has got himself the race lead re-inherited after that. Such was his lead. He built a pit stop over Pete Harrod. That tells you how quick Jamie Fluke has been in this event, and we haven't really had much opportunity to talk about Jamie Fluke or even the likes of Pete Harrod and David Van Broek, because let's be honest, Connery, they've all been on their own in this event. It has been a masterclass of GT3 driving today.
It has, and there pretty much no other words for it. It's been dominance from Jamie Fluke. It has been a solid race from both Pete Harrod and Van Broek, but they haven't had much action to be dealing with up there. That's been happening more in the mid-pack of the GT3s, at least before the stops. But the thing is, things look to have spread out a little bit apart from the battle between the what is going to be not the 17 and the 333, because those are two cars two lap apart there. But yeah, GT3 battles have pretty much fizzled out, but the battle that's not fizzled out right now, P1 GTE.
No, that has not fizzled out. Atulu versus Antoli, as Antoli desperately wants to try and stay within a second. 2:02.5 against 2:03.1. The difference last time, half a second, that went in the favour of Fernando Antoli. So it seems that the Spaniard against the Finn, it's almost a bit of Scott Pilgrim versus the world in certain stages, Connery, because when you're dealing with the amount of Finnish drivers that have been at the top end of this field, You have to make sure that you are at the top of your game. Fernando Antoli rounding the final corner. He's within range, but I wonder whether that Ford will have that ability to attack the Ferrari at this circuit, knowing how the Ford likes to run.
And it looks like there will be 8 drivers currently in this field that are from Club Finland. So that is the strength of the Finnish drivers. Is currently again on that last lap, only by 1/1000th of a second was Antoli faster than Rico Artello.
It counts. It matters.
It's a game.
He's closing. He's definitely closing. Not at a very big level, but he's closing. And I think he'll be very grateful at the fact that he's closing that gap. Santiso, on the other hand, 2-minute 0.6 against a 2-minute 0.5, lost a 1/10 of a second to James King. So King's found the momentum back once again, as now, when you consider this race, it is starting to open up a little bit. You talk about drivers like Teemu Toika, for example. Here's something that we haven't talked about with Teemu Toika. Yes, it doesn't seem like it's brilliant at the moment in terms of the result that he's got. But in terms of the standings, if I can look this up right now for Teemu Toika, his nearest rival in the Pro Championship, I believe, is Tapani Linnuauto. He's not here for this one. The next one is Markus Niskanen, and I think that Niskanen is, in terms of his class, all right, could gain. And then there's Fernando Antoli as well in the mix. So Antoli right now is looking pretty strong at this stage, Connery, no matter where he finishes, to gain some vital points in the championship lead.
Yeah, very strong points potentially being gained there. And you know, you have to have these sorts of races where you have to capitalize on what is you know, one of your strongest disciplines, because of the way this series works. You go for one event, you go on to some oval racing circuit, and then you have like a multi-class racing event, and then you have like, you go into the IndyCar as well for an Indy 500 in June. So it just shows such diversity in the series, and it really rewards those drivers that can adapt to change quickly and are multi-talented.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the classic IndyCar series will be getting itself underway very shortly on the iRacing service. Make sure you check out Will and Friends for that one, as it will surely be another IndyCar classic that we love to see on RaceSpotTV. Tulu in a very good position, as very aggressive there was James King, trying to get past Marco Penttinen. Penttinen right there was not in the way, Connery, but he didn't leave too much space there for James King to thread the needle.
Yeah, and this is why you don't usually pass bits of lap traffic coming through there, but James King definitely showing that it is possible to do so, as Penttinen, I don't think he really did anything wrong there. He's just running his own lines, and James King just decided to take the line that managed to get him through. Santiso will have an easier job of it, getting past that lap traffic coming down the back straight. Right now, Chris Santiso is the only driver, apart from one in this entire prototype field, that has run a 1:59 lap time on that last lap. So he is still gaining 0.3 of a second on James King on that last lap.
0.3 of a second, it's so useful. It is so very, very useful. Also, we're seeing Josh Wolff still under pressure as he tries to keep hunting down Kurt Crum. He's got Teemu Valkojärvi right in the middle of this one, and Valkojärvi, he's going to be respectful here. He's going to say, you've got to find your way around me. At the triple right-hander, this is the worst place to say, you've got to find your way around me. He's still got to find his way around him to the inside of the left-hander at 19. Finally, that's a thank you. And Teemu Valkojärvi did not make life easy for Josh Wolff, but he didn't have to make life easy for Josh Wolff. Let's put it this way, Connery.
And potentially Fernando Antoli running into a couple of issues here. We'll just wait for confirmation on that one, but that would be an absolute heartbreak if we think what it is. But nope, it seems to be okay. That car seems to be still out there on the circuit and hasn't run into issues, so Antoli can breathe.
Let's take that back. So Antoli's still there, second position right now, 5.53 machine, pushing against Ricky Tulu. This one for the marbles in terms of this category. We're coming to that stage though, Connery, those who made their stops at about 40 minutes, they're going to be considering about coming in once again in your prototype field to get another 40-minute stint off in the books. So we're talking the likes of James King, Andres Silsans making their final stops of the day here, looking to get themselves pushing forwards. For someone like Andres Silsans, he's not out of the woods in third position. Kurt Crumb's only 2 seconds behind. You've got Josh Wolf waiting in the wings as well. They've got a massive gap of about half a minute to Andrei Rajkovic in 6th position. But crucially enough, for Andres Silsans, if he's not too careful, he could be back in 5th position after the second round of stops.
Yeah, things are definitely tight in terms of that prototype battle. Silsans just getting greedy there with the bit of lap traffic of Marco Penttinen. And again, he gets a slide coming off of the right-hand apex, sliding once again through turn number 15. These prototype drivers seem to very much like sliding, so I'll just let them do their thing as they head their way through the triple right. And, well, the battle now that Silsans will come out on, this will be Altalo versus Antoli.
On cue, James King dives in from the race lead. So the 25 machine pits in with about 42, 41 minutes left to go in the event. So this is a firm final stop for James King. And this needs to be a brilliant last stop. Started 5th position on the grid in the Bushfink machine. Is pushing hard to try and win this event. Had the gap that he wanted, but of course, Santiso's going to be pitting in later. He has to put less fuel into that vehicle, so Santiso could very easily get the jump on pit road. This is where you say to James King, very similar to the likes of, say, a Michael Schumacher or a Nigel Mansell, just go do qualifying laps.
Yeah, and he did go up and down on the jacks as well, so that's indicative of tyres being taken there for James King. Heading up into turn number 1 will get himself ahead of that Ford of David Baker, so clear out to run in right now for James King. He saw the gap on the live track map, decided that's where I want to come out, and he does so. But now the ball is in Chris Santiso's court. He did take more fuel on the first stops. He took around about what looks to be about 7 seconds more fuel on that stop. So this could really pay dividends right now for Santiso if he gets this these couple of in-laps and the stop right.
But he's got to get past the good smile Hatsune Miku machine of Marcus Niskanen, who is up there in the championship battle, looking to try and take the championship lead away from Circuit of the Americas, heading towards the Nürburgring for the 2.4 hours at round 5 of the championship. We're officially, Connery, about a third of the way through the season. Looks at watch right about now.
Yes, we are, as looking at Hugo Luiz's comments. Yes, our race director really does love that paint of the 002 car, the Marcus Niskanen car. It's one of the most busy paint schemes, shall we say, out there on circuit.
It is a very busy paint scheme, and I have to say, being an Otaku myself, it's nice to see Hatsune Miku getting represented once more in sim racing here. A lot of affinity to the Super GT machines in Japan. So Santiso will stay out for another lap as expected. James King, though, for example, he's come out ahead of Andrei Rajkovic and ahead by a good margin. Now, when they made that pit stop, Connor, you got something first, though.
Oh, Sakovic and Niskanen, we were just on it, and Sakovic actually hits one of the anti-cut curbs there coming into the SS section. They were side-by-side coming through turn number 1. They were side-by-side coming through turn number 2 as well. But turn number 3, 4, 5, that is not going to happen side-by-side. Sakovic did back out of it, but decided to clatter himself over one of those yellow curbs on the driver's right-hand side.
And that sleeping policeman will not be sleeping much longer, I'll tell you that much for a fact. So Maciej Sakovic, the Team Mad Machine, that Team Mad Machine looking a little bit irate as it drops back away from Marcus Niskanen, unable to make the move. But what I was going to say, Connery, the gap needed for Santiso on that first stop that didn't work was 39 seconds when it came to the stop. It's going to be a little bit less here. It's 32, 33 seconds right now to James King. But we've got to remember, Santiso's going to be spending less time on the lane. Look how much traffic, though, James King's had to deal with on this lap. Jonas Vastermarki and also Andreas Robertson. Andreas Robertson, of course, a driver who we find in the 60-plus league.
Yeah, but the thing is, Santiso is also having to deal with a bit of traffic here, as it is one of his own class. There's Enrico Leonhardt there, coming through the penultimate corner, not really giving Santiso a decent opportunity to get his way by. But the thing is, it is responsibility of the car behind to hit his way by, so he is well entitled to do that. Santiso will stay out at least one more lap, and maybe even a couple more laps here with the heavier fuel load that he did take on that first stop. Down the inside of lap traffic he'll go, and he'll get that one sorted relatively quickly. But look at the James King situation, though. Held up through the triple right-hander. It's not going well.
It's not going well. It may have been a bad decision on track performance, and wide he goes through turn 19. James King is pushing, and he'll have Jamie Fluke to get past next, which is the GT3 race leader by what I would say is a comfortable half a lap, and should be a little bit more at this stage. So that's the sort of effort that James King is pushing at a level to go through. He still did a 2-minute 0.4 despite all of the issues he had. Gained a 10th on Chris Santiso on that last time by. But this is more indicative of something else here, Connery, because we saw Santiso come in at the 55-minute mark when it came to the race in 52-53 minutes. That's going to leave him to come in what I'd say is about 15 minutes to go, if not 20 minutes left to go. That's 18 minutes. That's about 10 laps. Chris Santiso can start pushing now and say, time to run the fuel tank dry, time to use up the majority of the tyre.
Yeah, and well, if he hasn't used it up already, since both Santiso and James King have been absolutely abusing these tyres, the tyres on these Daytona prototypes, Santiso's lap times will be at a deficit here since he is on those older tyres, and James King did take the fresher rubber on that last stop, so that is the kind of deficit that he has to be working with and has to keep in mind. He did lose a 10th of a second the last time by, but you have to remember that King had that pretty heavy traffic as he's also doing this as well, coming through to number 12.
235 in the 593, going at it again. This is Hector Pereira, Nicola Rotti, but it's the other way around. So Hector Pereira looking to try and get back past Rotti, who's made his way through in the pit stop cycle. So Nicola Rotti, this battle going on a fair ways down the field. I count this one for 11th and 12th outs on circuit, Connery.
Yeah, it is. Someone's headed their way on towards the lane. That's Andrew Silson here for the 292 car. And that's going to be one of the final stops here for your prototype field. We've already had the likes of King and Rajkovic head their way on towards the lane. We've also have Carmichael Endres as well that will be able to get themselves to the end of the race. So final service for Silson. This is going to be in relation to his battle with the likes of Pim Graham and Joshua Wolf.
It is. So in is Silsans. He waits, he finally gets going. He was a little bit impatient, actually. He was spinning the rears up whilst they were on the jacks. He was that impatient to get off and away. And he'll get out with Joni Hagner alongside Travis Henderson. He now puts himself behind, so he's about 16 seconds now off of James King. So for Andres Silsans, I think he's lost out there in that stop. He's lost a good 3 seconds, and that 3 seconds, I think, would be about 1 second lost to Kurt Crum. I think Kurt Crum and Joshua Wolf have a very good chance of jumping here in the battle for the podium, Connery.
Especially with how much Silsans is getting held up right now through the S's section behind Joni Hagner. And of course, again, this isn't Hagner's fault. It's usually not the leading car's fault coming through there. It's just a single racing line through there. There's not much you can say about that. Silsans finally heads his way by, coming through turn number 11, but he must have lost at least another second by being stuck behind the lap traffic there. Is looking elsewhere out there on circuit. We do have a battle for number 21 overall, Rotti versus Pereira here. But Rotti is just kind of starting to work on pulling that gap right now back to the 593.
We've also seen a change of position. Maciej Sakovic is through on the Hatsune Miku Good Smile machine of Marcus Niskanen. So Niskanen has dropped position, And this is right in front of a battle in your GTE field for the final spot on the podium. Timu Valkiavi versus Antti Palaja. The gap about 3 seconds and 3 vehicles. One vehicle is Dawson Brock, and then you got the two of Sakovic and Niskanen who have battled. Brock's going to get out of the way and play the gentleman's role. James King's got to go through the lot of this and will do into turn number 1. Try and get at least one here on Palaja. We'll get Palaja. We'll now look for Niskanen. And James King then, still with heavy and copious amounts of traffic though, on that last lap, managed himself a 2-minute 0.5. Santiso though is turning up the wick. That's a 2-minute 0.2 and more time gained.
2-minute 0.2 on all the tires as well. So that is just disheartening to see if you're James King. You're just not getting the luck with the traffic here, getting it always through this sort of S's section where you basically have to run GT3 pace if you're running behind a GT3 through there, and it's such a difference to what the prototype is able to do coming through that section. But into turn number 12, turn number 11 he will go, and Pajala will head his way by as well on the GT3 traffic, but we've still got spell for P2 overall to be worried about as well. Kurt Crum versus Joshua Wolf. That has come down in the last couple of laps.
It has, and the gap was 1.6. That gap looks a lot less than 1.6 at this stage. So Kurt Crum maybe hasn't had the best of dealings with the likes of Jan Letzeva as lap traffic. So I think that maybe Kurt Crum could be under a bit of pressure right now from Joshua Wolf. And if Wolf can make things happen in the stop, he could really be on course for a great result. And we've been saying how Grizzly Motorsport are out of their element when it comes to an IMSA-style race that we've got going on here today. This is very different right now for the Bombshell team. Kurt Crum, we know him most notably as a driver, Connery, when it comes to a Skip Barber race. There's no Skip Barbers this season in terms of the majors. He's got to go out there and do it in vehicles which maybe for an audience, we don't know where Kurt Crum's affinity lies.
Yeah, and again, we've described it before. It's one of the challenges of the series, and it's a very interesting challenge as well. So we don't usually get to see the different abilities of the different drivers all on show for one series. We usually have to watch different series that they participate in for that one, but to get it all in one, that is a very interesting idea, and I like how this major series has organized that.
Travis Henderson is a man under pressure because Andres Silsans is looking to try and take position 5 away. This is a pseudo battle right now, you'd say at this stage, Connery, because Silsans has made a second stop, Travis Henderson has not. So clearly Silsans is the quicker driver. They're all stuck behind Jamie Fluke. Advantage Silsans, who will just close and close and then close a little bit more as and when he feels.
Yep, and lap traffic isn't going to exactly help Henderson here as, ooh, that's going to be very close coming through the apex of that left-hander, but around the outside of the lap traffic, Henderson has to go, and Silsan is going to make it 3 wide coming off the top of the hill, down the hill, through the left-hand kink, as, ooh, Henderson gets all sorts of loose coming through the kink there. He's really fighting for this position, even though he's the car on all the tires, and Silsan's the one with the pace.
I'm not sure it's the fact that he's fighting this one, Connery. I just think it's the fact that he's struggling to deal with the pressure. Jamie Fluke is an incredibly quick GT3 machine, running effectively like a lower-end GTE machine at this stage, only a lot more precise, and Fluke, with mastery of car control, was able to, even though twice the driver of Henderson ran into issues, managed to keep things going. Again, another slide into turn number 12 for Henderson, who is really struggling. Andres Silsans does not know which way he's supposed to look because he's more 6 sideways. Hello there, Glenn McGee, in terms of what Henderson's doing, more rather than Andres Silsans is able to find a way through.
Yeah, this isn't the prototype class, this is the Tokyo Drift class right now for most of your drivers in that prototype field. It's definitely an interesting phenomenon that we're seeing with the amount of slides through apexes, but it is what it is, and Henderson still ahead at this stage. So Silsans, I think, is being a little bit patient here. He doesn't want to rush this move at all, but saying that, he just completely proves my point wrong by outbraking himself into the last corner.
Well, he outbroke himself. He made the move and made it look very, very comfortable. 5.85 machine in a scrap with the 79. This is Giuseppe Muia against Jonas Vastamaki. Vastamaki looking to try and take that position away. There's a bit of good smile going on, and here's the advantage. Vastamaki in the door was shot by Giuseppe Muia. He didn't want to see Vastamaki going through, and especially not behind the lap traffic as well. Advantage to Ava Sim Sports at the moment on the brakes, left-hander, and Vastamaki gets the line horribly wrong. That's going to cost him a lot of time here, as Good Smile very much slower through the left-right sections of the opening part of the lap, Connery.
He is, and this lap traffic's just going to separate out this battle a little bit as Vastamaki heads down the inside of the lap traffic here. But the thing is, Moya's not able to do the same, at least currently, to Sakovic. He's going to get slowed up off the exit of the corner here, which is the most crucial part of that turn number 11. But Vastamaki is a bit too far back to be able to capitalize on that sort of situation. Sakovic will just drop back in behind here. A little bit of damage to that front end of the Mercedes there. It's going to affect it in a straight line, so might as well drop back into the slipstream of a GTE car while you're at it. And now Vastamaki has to get himself past, but the thing is, Sakovic knows how to beat lap traffic. He's going to get himself well out of the way. But the thing is, that gap has closed up back up a little bit. It wasn't as big as it was coming out of the exit section, so Vastamaki, this still has potential for him.
It does have potential, of course. Behind all of this, you've got Andres Silsans and Travis Henderson looking to start thinking of making their way through. Are there any takers on the lane yet? No, there are still not. So Prototypes still not taking that pit stop. We are kind of neglecting here the battle going on for the race lead in GTE. Fernando Antoli 2029, Riku Alatalo, Ricky Atulu a 203.1, 2/10 to Fernando Antoli. And Antoli, who had that gap open up a bit through the traffic, is now starting to bring that gap down again. Ricky Atulu is being pushed for the first time, I think, in a very long time for a race victory. And I love the fact that we're seeing Ricky Alatalo having this chance to have a battle for the race victory, because it has been a long while, Connery, since we've seen Atulu at the top.
It has been, and maybe we can also settle on the pronunciation of his last name as well. Maybe some Finnish...
It's a nickname, Connery. It's a nickname. Okay. He is nicknamed Ricky Atulu. It is Riku Alatalo.
There we go. We've got that officially explained. I didn't actually know the nickname part of that, but the facts of this race, that what you said with Antoli catching, that is exactly right. A 0.2 of a second that last time by. Let's see if this trend continues for the battle for the race lead in your GTE field. But looking back to prototypes though, Kurt Crum, Joshua Wolf, they're still stuck together like glue. There's nothing that Wolf or Crum can do about this.
Well, the Wolf seems that it wants to hunt its prey down, as look to the inside is not forthcoming, and there's a bit too much of a checkup there from Josh Wolf. If he was able to hold himself a little less on the brakes, I thought he would have had a chance to get past Kurt Crum, but he isn't. So Kurt Crum is able to hold and maintain position, 14 seconds behind your race leader, Chris Santiso. At this stage of the event, they are not in the scrap for the race victory. That race victory scrap is Santiso versus the man in 4th position right now, 20 seconds back of James King out on circuit, and an off track for Chris Santiso just as we say that, and that is not the right place to be having a big off-track moment, and it was a massive one, Connery, heavy on the anti-cut curb and right in front of Pete Harrod, who was 2nd in GT3.
He has to be careful of floor damage as well, running over those curbs. He'll also get a slowdown penalty for cutting the course there. So things starting to pile on top of each other now for Santiso in terms of losing time to James King. And, well, he's got to be very, very careful at this stage. Even though he has that advantage with the pit stop strategy, he has to put in less fuel than James King had to put in his car for his final stop. You still don't want to be seeing that, so maybe he's sort of under pressure now to be able to keep this gap maintained and still come out ahead when he makes a stop.
That front left does not look pretty, and by the looks of things, Connery, the fast repair's already been used, so he's working with this all the way to the end of 2 hours. So he's close, but that could be very, very telling. Watch the next few lap times then in comparison to James King, who has found himself with the GTE battle of Antley and Atulu. So Riku Alatalo suddenly finds the pressure cooker on. He'll get some help from James King. Very crucially, King has got to get past Antley first. Antley will have to get out, well, doesn't have to get out of the way, Connery, but can disrupt the line first, where Atulu could get a better opportunity later on.
Yeah, and King is just going to stay behind in this sort of situation. No point in getting held up, but he's going to get held up anyway coming through the penultimate corner. Goes a little bit too deep on the brakes, almost runs into the back of the Ford. Will still be behind the Ford for the final corner, and hopefully on this pit straight he'll be able to manage to make his way by at least one of these drivers. There goes Fernando Antley of the Ford there, and the Ferrari's just going to stay ahead for now up in towards turn number 1. But meanwhile, we have a car down towards the lane. That's the number 7 of Kurt Crum coming in for his final stop.
And out of pit road he comes along in his battle with Josh Wolf. Where is he in terms of Andres Silsans? The answer is a mile away. So Kurt Crum has got the jump on Andres Silsans. Not only has he got the jump, he's got the jump by a fair distance as well. So Andres Silsans has a lot of work to do. He's been unable to get past Travis Henderson. That's been the crux of Andres Silsans' race. He's been unable to make anything work right now to his advantage. But we'll focus still on Antley versus Alatalo because the gap has opened. Alatalo has yet to let through James King, but will let James King through as Antley runs incredibly wide there at turn number 11, and the gap extends open once again to be what is needed for Alatalo. A couple of seconds right now, Connery, and it's that couple of seconds that Antley is unable to just follow in the footsteps of Riku Alatalo. That's what's going to be hurting. That's what's going to be perennially hurting Fernando Antley as he looks to try and find something to force a decisive break in the final 22 minutes of this event.
The thing is, Alatalo hasn't really been looking convincing. Well, he did miss the apex coming down into turn number 12, so Antley really keeping Alatalo honest here, which isn't really an easy thing to do in terms of the racing. Of course, he's a lovely guy in terms of being outside the car, but Antley, he's really got to turn up the wick now. He's got to put on those afterburners if they have them on those Fords, but you know, 20 minutes left. It's still enough time, but it's still not as much time to be comfortable.
It's not enough time to be comfortable, but sometimes you can't be comfortable when you're racing. James King a 2:01 flat, Chris Santiso a 2-minute 0.6 and a big wiggle coming out of turn number 9 on circuit. So Santiso is pushing and pushing pretty much to the limits that he can find feasibly available to him as he looks to continue on with the race lead. Now this is where it gets interesting for the podium because Josh Wolf is staying out. Kurt Crum's got to put in some fantastic lap times right now, Connery, if he wants to stay within the realms of what is position number 3.
Yeah, he really does. As you know, if at this stage Santiso, that's, you know, going to be a non-issue for James King, then your next target has to be Joshua Wolf, currently running 12.5 seconds behind Santiso, but we don't know what Santiso's stop time is going to be. It's going to be very, very short, of course, but is it going to be short enough to bring him out ahead of James King? That still remains to be seen. It's the same with Joshua Wolf as well. We'll see where he comes out when he next comes down towards the lane, because he's in on this exact same strategy as Santiso here. Same stop time, same lap that they came in last time.
Yep, same strategy, same lap, so it could be that Chris Santiso will have a very long wait, as will Josh Wolf, to decide what happens in prototypes. In GTE, it is the battle between Riku Alatalo and Fernando Antley out on circuit. In GT3, it is all Jamie Fluke, and it has been from the drop of the green flag, the 585 and the 79 continuing. That's Muya versus Vastamaki. This one for position number 5 in GTE, on the brakes into turn number 12. Vastamaki right up to the rear, but unable to make anything happen then with just under 20 minutes to go.
Tick-tock time is running out right now for the battles that are out there on circuit. 18 minutes to go as Västämäki looks towards the inside for 15, but isn't able to get the move even started there, coming down into that corner. So he'll lose time as a result of that one. A couple of tenths go the way of Giuseppe Moya in that sort of situation. And then have a quick look at the stint lengths for these drivers. Coming up to 20 laps on the stint for Västämäki as he runs a bit wide, and we're also coming up onto 25 laps for Giuseppe Moya. So if both of them took tires that last time, which they probably would have looking at the fuel numbers, then this is going to be Västämäki's advantage on the rubber.
Well, Västämäki may have the rubber advantage, but Giuseppe Moya will have the ability to defend. So the pair of them heading through the right-hander of turn number 2 and into the S's section reminds you so much, Connery, of Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone, just how sweeping this track is, and it's got so many homages to so many great circuits that, you know, it has a mismatch, and there's the contact. Round goes Giuseppe Moya, too aggressive with Edu Vila lap traffic.
Yeah, way too aggressive, just the chopping off of the nose there, as it was pretty much only centimeters in it, you have to say, like, because he was almost clear, just very, very almost clear, but almost is not quite enough, especially when it comes to car contact. Almost,
it does not cut it, and Racing Room and a bit less also does not cut it. So that much you can definitely say. Andres Silverstone still unable to get past Travis Henderson in the battle for P5, P6, but it's those margins that cost points. So Giuseppe Moya, for example, now he's got Joni Hagner now just behind. That puts him in a different battle entirely. And Joni Hagner, a driver who absolutely adores the classics, absolutely adores what that has done to get him back into sim racing once again, finds himself now in a battle for 6th position that about a minute and a half ago he felt was not possible.
Yeah, he was pretty much in a region of no man's land there, was Joni Hagner. So now he has a friend to try and battle with. It's down towards the inside for 15. Contact between the two drivers. They both managed to keep it on the circuit though, but damage potentially to both cars. There's Moya will stay ahead. Around the outside of the triple right, Hagner will have to go here, trying to search for the grip out there on the marbles that kind of have started to develop out there. Down towards the inside, power move from Hagner. Wow.
Wow, that is catching Giuseppe Moya napping and a bit more. Joni Hagner, that is a move to take your hat off in the majors. That was beautiful from Joni Hagner. That's the Joni Hagner, Connery, that I love to see in sim racing, and I want to see more of in sim racing as he locks up into one.
Yeah, I think we want to see more of those sorts of moves, since Moya was just left the door open and then just wondered why the cat had just bolted through the door there of Hagner. So that was an impressive move from the driver that was, you know, running down further down the field than Moya. Moya, you know, has the overall pace, but if you don't take opportunities like that, then you deserve to stay behind. But Hagner, he wants to be ahead.
In the words of Kimi Räikkönen, whoa.
I'm just going to leave that stay silent to make it a bit more awkward.
Yes, because that's all that's needed in that situation, is a little bit of awkwardness just to sprinkle on top of this race as Santito stays out for another lap, as does Joshua Wolf. Santito still running the mid 2-minute lap times. I wonder if James King can match that. He did a 2:02 flat the last time by. He will look to cross the line around about now, and the answer is he does respond with his own 2-minute time, but it's a 2:07. It opens the gap to 35 seconds out on circuit, aka I'm not sure that's enough to get you home and dry. So going to be marginal, it's going to be close, but Chris Santiso, who was troubled in the early stages by Fraser Williamson of Team Bushfink, now in a scrap with a different Bushfink machine. And suddenly as well, Riku Alatalo has a massive gap over Fernando Antoli, and Antoli has fallen into the clutches of Team Muvalkiavi, and there's only one solution to this. There was an incident on the last lap, a 2:16 for Fernando Antoli.
Yeah, we'll have to have a look for that one. There's the Moya and Hagner battle that has switched places yet again. Moya has managed to get himself back by the driver of Joni Hagner, coming down into turn number 12, which is pretty much every single driver out here's favorite passing spot.
Found it. It was contact, and it was contact with same vehicle traffic. Was trying to follow Alatalo through against Nicola Rotti in through turn number 3. Rotti went to turn the corner, did not see Fernando Antoli there, so easy to do, and Antoli gets caught out. That could just have been there, Connery, if he wasn't too careful. The championship lead thrown away. It definitely is the race win in Alatalo's hands.
It is, so Alatalo can, well, he can't be complacent at this stage, but he can just back off just a little bit.
As the leader comes into pit road as well, we'll abandon everything. Chris Santiso, this needs to be the magic stop. He is in a battle with James King. Josh Wolf stays out. He'll go a lap longer. James King then rounds the final corner, runs a little bit wide, but already gone is Chris Santiso, already looking out to go forward. There's a fast repair as well, and there is a gap that is going to be demoralizing for James King, because Chris Santiso is clear, but not truly clear. The gap's still within about 5 to 10 seconds or so, Connery. That's not comfortable. That is, mistakes can still be made.
Yeah, and with the way Santiso has been driving that car, the mistakes are definitely possible. Gap is around 6 seconds on the relative timing, just dipping up to around about 6.2 as they head their way through the SS section, and James King gets held once again by a bit of traffic. Traffic hasn't really been on his side today, and that is an oversimplification there. But in terms of the rest of the battles in your field, Moya versus Hagner still together right now, coming out of the final turn. Hagner, he's been behind for 2 laps. He did inherit the P number 16 overall position just for a brief moment as he'll head his way down towards the inside. We'll try to regain it in towards turn number 1. Hagner will try to complete the move, but the thing is, the momentum goes to Moya, and he swerves left right into Hagner. Hagner spins to the exit of the racing circuit, and Moya, wow.
I had a feeling, Connery. I had that awful feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was going to happen. And Joni Hagner will not only lose that, he'll have Dawson Brock go through. And now Teemu Toika wants to get in on the action. So that one, I think Hagner was trying to close the door off. Didn't leave much room there. But again, it was just Moya running a little bit too wide off of that exit. Bring himself back onto circuit, back into Joni Hagner. And just like that, Toika could get one more vital position for the championship lead.
Yeah, potentially. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this one as Joshua Wolf has headed his way down on towards the lane. So this could be crucial for the battle for P number 3, P number 4 sort of area, as it's a very, very quick stop. James King has already headed his way by. Kurt Crum is starting, well, he's currently coming across the line right now. So that is where Joshua Wolf is going to file out. It is a jump.
It's a jump. So Kurt Crum, for all the work and all the great laps he's been putting in, finally, Joshua Wolf gets the release he had been looking for, and he has position on circuit and has himself the final spot on the prototype podium. And Connery?
Yeah, Toika and Hagner going side by side through the slow speed middle sector, and Hagner will have the inside for turn number 15. Toika had to push wide as he overcut the entry, but here he comes back on the exit now. Has the inside line, the preferred line for the triple right-hander, but Hagner taking the wider entry, trying to carry more speed through these apexes, but that does stall out. Can he pull off another power move down the inside? Here, the answer's going to be no. He's going to punt Toika right in the backside, and he's going to go for a little bit of a half spin. Hagner pushes wide, and he will actually maintain the position here. I wonder if he'll give that one back.
No, that's not turnabout fair play, Connery. That was not on, in my opinion, there. Hagner was never going to make the corner. He was so late on the brakes into that left-hander. He missed the apex by a mile, and well, he's going to run wide. Yes. I think he's going to give it back. So there's some fair chivalry and showmanship. He's going to let Toika have that back, but that was a big, big error to say, oops, I'm sorry on there, Connery.
I think he was caught in two minds. I think he was going to go for another dive down the inside, but the feet didn't quite match the hands there, as he kind of needed to be on the inside line to be able to do that rather than the outside. So a bit of indecision has cost Hagner the opportunity at getting back that position over Toika.
Yes, it has cost that ability. There is time. Not much time, I will say that. Battle for second, though, in GTE is still going on between Teemu Valkjärvi in the Ferrari, in the Glacier Ferrari, and Fernando Antli in the Astor-sponsored Ford out on circuit. Behind all of this, though, is also Antti Palaja, who has got onto the rear. And Antti Palaja, who has been up there in every single race so far this season, 9th in the championship as things stands, tied on points with Kurt Krum on 5, 7, 8, needs this result, has to need this result, and needs to get both of these positions inside what I call 5 laps to go, Connery.
Yeah, he really does. 5 laps to go, even on our lovely timing to the software as well. So that is exactly right from you there, Jake. But Pagala, he's running out of time. He needs to pass these 2 cars in these next couple of laps just for that points benefit. Silsan will be behind this one in the prototype, so that could spell trouble for this battle a little bit, depending on where he catches them. But he's being patient here, coming through the S's, and he'll come out off the top here. I think he's going to catch them in an all right place as to not affect this battle too much.
Yeah, I think he's got no battles, so he'll just sit and wait on it, as again, he will wait through the hairpin, will wait for the big long straight to turn 12 to go and make anything happen. So Antti Palaja, he will be overtaken. I expect Valkjärvi to be overtaken as well. Antli, though, that could be the big difference maker in terms of this battle. So there's one, and you can see how Palaja in the, what is the sponsor of going to be Inertia, look for it. Big wiggle coming out of the corner. This is the opportunity needed as they battle side by side with Valkjärvi, unable to attack the way that he'd want to through this slow and meandering section of track, almost like a river, the way it doubles back on itself again and again and again, and still Palaja in the colours of what is going to be Inertia Sim Racing, still wants to look for that move, still can't find that move, and the Blue Fox still is searching and hunting.
Yeah, but will he find his target? That's the issue here, as they threw themselves through the final corner, as the prototype's going to get a little bit loose there, and he'll take it 3 wide, 3 different classes there involving James Merrills, and the Inertia Sim Racing car is just trying to find the gap to slot itself into. Pagala will decide to head his way, at least initially, outside line through turn number 1. Not sure how this one's going to work. In fact, it's not going to work. He'll have to stay behind just another sector now.
Well, they cross the beams, and that's the scariest point of any sci-fi action movie, when you cross the beams. But they did very well. They held it together, and Palaja stays behind just for the moment. The gap at the front of the field is 5.7 seconds. It's not over for the podium, though. Josh Wolf, I don't think is safe yet from Kurt Krum, because Kurt Krum took 1.3 seconds out of him on the last lap. That's a 1:59.6 from Kurt Krum, who's got his own title to think of.
Yeah, where did that come from Kurt Krum? He's sensing these points that are up for grabs right ahead of him right now. So that is one to watch coming into the last 3 laps of this event right now. As I see a car that's very slow out there on circuit. That's Edu Villa, the 535. He's kind of dragging the brakes.
Uh-oh. That could be hardware. Definitely could be. So
he's got it going again.
But, well, that's a good thing, but if it's an issue, and I think it definitely is, he needs to pull that vehicle off the road as quickly as he can. A mechanical flag will definitely need to be there in terms of the issues he is suffering with. We also saw Dion Jonker have a spin. That was never going to be helpful in the long and short of the battling that we have seen. We're going to continue on, though, with this scrap going on, P3, P4, which is Palaja versus Valkjärvi. And Valkjärvi right now goes through, and it also sounds, maybe, Connery, like a puncture.
It could well be. That is kind of unheard of in these GTE cars, but the thing is, if he didn't take tires, then It's possible. You know, we've had the changes to the McLaren MP430, the Formula 1 car, where it's much more likely to have tyre wear issues, tyre punctures. Maybe it could possibly be it, but that would seem rather odd considering the tyre model that we have right now.
Well, I'm going to have a look at it because I don't know how I'm going to look at it, but it seems
the only way you can get a punch in iRacing right now is if you wear the tread down to 0%.
That is very true. I'm not sure about that one, Connery. We'll keep an eye out on that as he looks to get out of pit road. We'll see if we can get some words on that one. Josh Wolff versus Kurt Krum. That gap still above a second right now, and Kurt Krum maybe running out of a bit of time. Same can be said for James King, who's brought the gap down to 5.1 seconds. Unable to do anything, still relying on that mistake. A lot of drivers relying on mistakes. Valkyjavi and Pelayo, for example, keep an eye on this one. They've caught back up to Fernando Antony here, and Pelayo is so desperate to make a move. I don't see the way he's going to make this, Connery.
Down into turn number 12 potentially. It has to be a very, very brave one from a couple of car lengths back here. So let's see if he decides to do it. He's got 2.5 laps to work with. He gestures towards the inside, causes Valkyjavi to outbrake himself a little bit. Nose to tail, they'll go through the turn number 12 corner there as Andreas Robertson decided to just completely peace out into the runoff there. Not going to get involved in this one at all. Piala is going to be very, very close here, down towards the inside, but he tags around Valkyjavi.
Oh, and he gets a second bit of contact from Andreas Robertson, and Teemu Valkyjavi ceremoniously dumped back to 4th position. Not the way he wanted that one to go, but the way it will stay. Indeed, indeed. Pelayo now has one vehicle to get through. That is the driver of Fernando Antony for 2nd position. Championship rivals right now out on circuit. The gap between Krum and Wolff is down to 0.8 of a second, and Wolff's head's found some heavy traffic, and that's the form of, I believe, Jan Letseva. It is. Through goes Kurt Krum. This race suddenly starts hitting itself into life because James King's brought the gap down to under 5 seconds now on Chris Santiso. He's not close enough yet, but Santiso will be feeling a monumental amount of pressure. And Santiso, I think, Connery, he's going to have to do another lap here. I think he's 20 seconds short of getting this one done a lap earlier.
Yep, he is. Currently, the timing is suggesting that he is going to need one more lap here, which is could be an issue considering he only took 9 seconds of fuel on that last stint. Maybe he got a little bit too close, but we will just have to see as he heads his way through the triple right. Doesn't seem like the car's behaving all too nicely, but the thing is, that's to be said throughout this entire event for Santiso. But through the final couple of corners he will come, and out of the final corner, 23 seconds on the clock, so we'll definitely go for another lap, and that's another lap for Kurt Krum to deal with Wolff.
That's another lap on the fuel as well, so a white flag will fly at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And a big, as side by side they go and through, forcing the matter. Kurt Krum at the final corner. That was a bold move there. He dived it down to the inside. He locked up the brakes. He gave nowhere to go for Josh Wolff, but Wolff's going to come straight back at turn number 1. They're going to dance and dive this one now, as not able to get the power on the AstroTurf there was the driver of Joshua Wolff, and 3rd position falls away once more as the opportunity falls away for Josh Wolff. The chimes that have been coming in, look how neater through the S's goes the driver of Kurt Krum. It's just fallen away from Joshua Wolff in the battle for the podium. The battle between Pelayo and the driver Fernando Antony, that one has cooled off. I can say as such right now. The gap between Santiso and James King, that one is now under 4 seconds, but it's just a little too little, a little too late for the Bushfink, unless Santiso runs into issues with Michael Endres or David H. Baker just in front. For Santiso, it has been some fantastic racing. We'll look back to Kurt Krum because Joshua Wolff has a final chance, and it is at the notorious turn number 12. That gap is closing more and more and more. Does Grizzly go for the move? He thinks about it. He thinks about it. He thought about it a lot, and now he's going to try and pick the gap up and under. That's not going to work, so Wolff is now hoping on a miracle. Maybe the final corner the same way a lap ago that it happened for the driver of Kurt Krum. Doesn't matter now. Chris Santiso rounds himself through 18, looks himself to 19, and now will search for lucky turn 20. It has been a race of attrition in terms of for Santiso and his rivals around him. He's played the strategy card to a T, and he takes victory at the Sportscar Showdown. Santiso wins it from James King. We look back. Josh Wolf runs into issues through 19. Crum is safe on a debatable move on the penultimate lap of the event. Kurt Crum will come home in third position against Joshua Wolf, and he'll be happy about that. We will look further back because Riku Alatalo has done very well against Fernando Antoli, has done well at holding off Antoli in the late stages of the event, even with the issues that Antoli's had. Ricky Atulu's back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back with a bang because Riku Alatalo takes the GTE victory as Anton Pelaya, unable to get close enough, potentially has a last gasp chance against Fernando Antoli, unable to make that one work out in his favor. And Connery, it's a long wait now for Jamie Fluke.
It is a long wait from Jamie Fluke. But the thing is, we haven't really got to talk about Jamie Fluke over the course of this race because he's just done what he does at the front. He just gets off, gets away, and takes the P1 at the end of the race. There's nothing really more to be said about his performance today other than complete domination of GT3.
Complete domination of GT3, and nobody had even a hint of hope on Jamie Fluke and the way that he has been driving. And if this is the way that Jamie Fluke can drive around a circuit, I seriously have to consider Jamie Fluke to start vaulting up the tables if he can finish races. Jamie Fluke wins the GT3 category, wins it in pure style, and that is a Jamie Fluke drive that only Jamie Fluke knows how to drive. That has been sensational in terms of what he can do. Official classified results then, we'll get them up on your screen right now. This is how everybody has finished at the Circuit of the Americas. Chris Santiso then picks up the win, 3.2 seconds clear of James King, who worked mightily hard to get himself the full finish. He was just a few seconds short. He was going to close Santiso down. Kurt Crum makes the move to get up into third position. Vital points in his championship effort with Joshua Wolf in fourth. Andres Silsans will finish home in 5th position ahead of Andrei Rajkovic. Travis Henderson will come home in 7th position after his last stop. Trevor Vavrovsky, a quiet race to 8th. 9th will go to Michael Endres, and 10th in class to Enrico Leonhardt. In your GTE field, Ricky Atulu's back, and he's back with a bang because he's won the event ahead of Fernando Antoli, with Antti Pelaya coming home in 3rd position after a big incident with Timu Valkiavi in the final few laps. Julius Vastamaki comes home in 5th ahead of Timu Toika. The championship leader could be dropping a few points here today. Joni Hagner finishes in 7th. Marcus Simonson in 8th position overall. And into GT3 we will go. A masterclass from Jamie Fluke, who picks a lap on the field ahead of Pete Harrod in 2nd. David Van Broek in 3rd position, with Diogo Melro and Maciej Sakovic 4th and 5th. Good smiles though for Marcus Niskanen. 6th position might not be the result he was looking for, but it keeps himself in the hunt with Marco Penton 7th. James Merrills coming home 8th, 9th and 10th to RaceSpotTV's very own Paul Smith and Jan Mletsova. We had a couple of retirements though here today in this event, and some of those retirements do include Nicola Rotti, Fraser Williamson, Marcus Pappenbrock, Adam Hedgecock and Oyer Jugo as well. We're going to step aside though for one moment here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. When we come back, the post-race show here on what is the Sportscar Showdown of this, the Major Series, the Euro Major Series. Please don't go away.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
Well, you could have accused this race at the start for being a little bit tame, a little bit meek, a little bit, you know, out of the ordinary, shall we say. But far from it, was it at the end of this event. A fantastic worth of racing. 2 hours in IMSA rules at the Circuit of the Americas. The Sportscar Showdown showed that it was king, it was key, and it was beautiful to watch. And that's why we have the majors, and that's why we love the majors here on iRacing Live and RaceSpotTV. I am hashtag You Mind Jake Sperry. That's Connery Maddock alongside me in the commentary booth. Hugo Louis, all the way from Brazil, behind the cameras. And what a race that we have seen. The first person we're going to bring in is Mr. Ricky Atulu. Riku, you are here. You are having a fantastic time. Not only are you back, but you're winning as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Yeah, the race was close throughout the whole 2 hours, except for the last couple laps, unfortunately, with the incidents that Fernando had with the back marker. So the ending wasn't quite what I hoped for, but I still got the win, so.
Well, you still got the win. That's very crucial. I will preface that, Riku, you were the first sim racer I ever got to know of being a fast sim racer. You're the first person I ever saw win in sim racing, so I'll just put that fact out you there. So I am sort of fanboying a little bit.
Right.
But Rico, you know, you had to work hard in the second half of that race because you still had Fernando Antoli there pushing you every step of the way. Do you feel that it was unfortunate the way that battle ended and you couldn't have a last lap scrap?
Yeah, definitely. At first I thought it was the two back markers who collided themselves because they collided earlier, but it was after like half a lap I noticed that Fernando wasn't behind me anymore. So it wasn't definitely wasn't the ending I wanted, but at least the race before that was great.
And of course, the next time that we're going to be out in the majors is going to be, of course, the Nürburgring 2.4. What's your opinion on the Nürburgring? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it hell? Is it heaven? What is it for you?
Best ever.
Best ever. So we're going to be seeing Rico Alatalo there. I pretty much get that. So before you celebrate with a sauna or whatever it is that the Finnish do, Riku, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
I would like to thank my teammate Antti Terho. Unfortunately, he couldn't make the race today, but he made the setup and it was great all around, and he convinced me to do this race. So thanks to him, and thanks to Glacier Racing as well.
Well, thanks to Glacier Racing indeed. Ricky Atulu gets himself a victory, a very good race victory at that. Connery, you found an old teammate of yours. You found Jamie Fluke.
Well, not technically. I know we were part of the academy, but hello there, Jamie. But just 2 words there: absolute dominance, and I'm sure you'll just agree with that.
Yeah, I guess so. What to say really? Right. So the interesting thing about COTA is that if you like start backing off and trying to take it easy and serving yourself a bit, you end up completely losing your rhythm. So I just found that the best way to muddle through this was to just go full tilt the whole way and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, do you do anything to try and keep yourself occupied out there while you were putting, half a second a lap on everyone else?
Yeah, just sort of looking at my delta and just working off of that, and then anytime a DP or a GT was coming up behind me, just making sure that we negotiated that safely. Some of the DPs were a little bit treacherous, but by and large, everyone was pretty well behaved, so pretty happy with that.
Yeah, but on the more serious note now, do you think that that sort of margin, that sort of dominance is going to be sort of par for the course for you on these road circuits? Because of course we have a mixture of oval and road events going on here in the Majors series. Basically, you have to be looking to score pretty much maximum in every road event that we have, right?
So that's the plan, that's the target. At the same time as well, I'd like to be competitive in the oval races as well, but I think I chose a road car today that probably wasn't as strong as maybe the other two. I chose the Audi just because it's the car that I race in the GT World Championship, and I thought it'd be good just to get some extra miles under my belt on that. But yeah, I think the GTE field looked really strong, and secretly I probably would have liked to have had a swing at that as well.
Yeah, and moving on to the sort of discussion that we had during the race about you is like you, in my opinion, are quite a versatile driver, because I know this because I have raced you in person going in circles, a couple of years ago, if you can actually even remember that. But
I remember.
You do remember that, and you were instantly quick, and you kind of surprised all of us. So, as well as looking very, very strong on the roads, those ovals, those are going to work well for you as well, I think.
Hopefully. It depends on the car, I suppose, as well, and how well I can build a setup for that, because I'm not by any means an oval setup guru. I really don't know what I'm doing. I just sort of click buttons in general directions and sort of hope for the best in that one. But hopefully the driving sort of at least pull me through a little bit. I am working quite solo when it comes to this, so that the guys that are on teams and can put in a fair few man hours into building an oval set will probably have a bit of an advantage over me, but hopefully I can do my best in that.
Yeah, and with the loss, I think it was about a year ago of is the oval part of your academy still going?
No, it's been dead for nearly a year now. Yeah.
So yeah, you've lost all of the knowledge that perhaps it would have been gained from that, but you don't have any Matt Dalton or Aaron Masperos out there just making the setups for those NASCARs. But is there anyone that well, you already said there's no one else that helps you, so I don't need to do shoutouts apart from your sponsors.
Sure. So I'd like to thank SDK Gaming. I'd like to thank JCL Sim Racing. I'd like to thank Leo Botner as well, and Simputers Limited as well. I think those guys all do a great job for us. I'd also like to thank just the team in general for the work on the GT setup, just as a general thing over the last 6 months or so. We've made a decent effort at that recently, and hopefully the results in that will begin to show in the GT World Championship moving forward.
Yeah, well, that was Jamie Fluke, dominant winner for your GT3 field, Jake.
It certainly was, and Jamie Fluke has proven just how quick he certainly can be. And there are a few rounds which suit him even better than GT3 does. We're going to bring Joshua Wolf into the conversation right now, because Josh, let's talk about that penultimate lap move made by Kurt Crum. What was your take on it?
I didn't really like it too much. We had been racing the whole race great, and kind of a late move, and I gave him room, and he just slid into me and got into me, and kind of wish that would have happened. Well,
you kind of wish it didn't happen. In the end, it cost you a shot at the podium, because You'd worked incredibly hard throughout the entirety of the race to put yourself in that position. You got the jump that you needed in the stops. Was it a case of, you know, just trying to get out there, just trying to basically hang on to it for the end?
A little bit. We had been kind of going back and forth as a team what strategy to kind of follow for this race, and I just felt with my pace throughout the beginning of the week that going full fuel for both stops and just having a quick splash might help, and I was showing a lot more pace towards the end of the run compared to at least Kurt right in front of me, and I think there was one other person that I was chasing down towards the end of that second stint, and I just felt that that little splash at the end might actually help me get by them, and then kind of got held up by GT traffic is what brought Kurt back to me right there at the end.
Well, we've been talking about how Grizzly Motorsports aren't necessarily most well known when it comes to their road side of racing as well. Do you feel that you are proving quite a lot of doubters wrong with the way that you have been working hard in terms of the racing that you've been able to produce when it's come to these road events?
Yeah, our first road event wasn't that great. Not a car that we normally run. I absolutely love this DP. Of course, the LMP1 has kind of got my attention now too, and we've been really focusing hard as a team working on building these setups and showed off here. I want to thank Cordell and Travis. They kind of started out this setup, and then I kind of threw a few things out there, but it's kind of let me focus more on driving instead of trying to build these setups, and I think that's helped us out a lot.
Well, 4th position, not quite a podium, but anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a sponsor's plug to?
Other than just my teammates, we've been working really hard, and we'll see what we can do at the next race.
They'll see what they can do. Joshua Wolf joining us position 4 in the end. But Connery, it's not often that we get to do this, but you found the 8th Paul Smith on iRacing.
Yes, I have. Paul Smith, number 8, RaceSpot's very own VRS GT World Championship commentator. Is there any more accolades you want me to add to that, Paul?
Nah, you're fine.
Yeah, well, 32nd place overall in this event. So wasn't really the ideal day for you out there. It wasn't really the ideal day from pretty much the outset in those early laps where you had a spin, you had a couple other problems as well. How do you start to recover from that sort of those sorts of things happening to you?
I had a spin in the early parts. Somebody hit me off before we'd even reached the start line. I mean, really, come on. Yeah, it kind of summed up my day, did that, as to how that went. But, it's one of those things. You just got to, reset. Let's see what we can do from there. I then started moving up through the field again in the GT3s, doing a good job. Yeah, I self-spun, went through over one of the anti-cut curbs around the S's, and that just spun me around. Yep. I had to wait for them to go through. And then I got wiped out by a GTE car, which was pleasant. So I had to pit earlier than I wanted to, but it was at a point where I could actually finish the race, so that was handy. And then it was just a case of running laps, trying to catch up to whoever I could, and finish off the race without too many incidents in it. And, a couple of little sort of half spins and that, and a little bit of damage to finish it off. But overall, it's my first time in this season. So it was a good little event. I'm looking forward to the next one at the Nürburgring. Should be a good laugh, especially in the GT3 cars.
Yeah, it should well be, and as long as you can iron out those issues. But the thing is, the issues out of your control, like getting hit. There's sometimes those things happen, but the self spins, if those certain issues hadn't had happened this race, how far up the field do you think you would have finished?
It's motorsport. It's the biggest word in motorsport is if, and if I hadn't had those issues, and if I hadn't had contact, then I would have liked to have finished just up with the other team mad drivers of Majek and Diogo. I think I was sort of around their sort of pace, maybe a little bit off their pace. So I would have liked to have been up there in sort of like those just outside the podium positions. Would have been nice, but this is how it goes. You got to take the good days with the bad days, and unfortunately today was a bad day.
It was for you, but we discussed this a little bit with Jamie just a little bit earlier. But just want to approach the topic of how adaptable that you have to be to race in this series with so many disciplines that you have to race in. Multi-class endurance races, you've got just single class sprint races, you've got oval races, you've got both in stock cars and the Indy cars. How demanding is that to be learning so many different machines?
It's actually good because it's getting me out of my I'm speaking personally. It's getting me out of my comfort zone. I'm far too familiar with the cheap Korean front-wheel drive mess that is the Kia Optima, and it's getting me into other machines. I'm really looking forward later on in the season to the classic British Grand Prix with the Lotus 79. I've hardly driven that car. I want to give it a go, and it's going to be an interesting event, that's for sure. But yeah, you've just got to adapt, get a bit of practice in, which I had done for this this event. Maybe not as much practice as I would have liked to have done with me being involved in the series as well, but you've just got to take your time, learn how the car works, learn how to set up the car. If you could be cheeky and get setups from somebody else who makes setups in your teams, thank you, Majek, then that helps a lot as well. And you just got to spend time in the car, learn the quirks of the car and the track, and really sort of give it a go.
And I bet you're not used to being asked this sort of question, because you're usually the one asking it. Who gets it done for you behind the scenes?
Well, everyone at Team Mad, all teammates, Dave Crozier especially, who sort of wrangles us all together. He's really good for that. Did well in his split. He was in the amateur split, finished third in GT3, so well done to Dave. There's on the car, we've got Calder Rescue, which is a motorsport rescue unit. They were out at Cadwell Park today on one of the rallies down at Cadwell Park, so we support them rather than them supporting us for that. And also Phoenix Racing, which is to do with Coventry University, which Majek Sakovic is attending at the moment, so they help us get it done.
Well, there we go. Our very own RaceSpot's own Paul Smith there, finishing what will be P number 32 overall, but it was a decent recovery considering all the shenanigans that happened there, Jake.
Yes, it certainly was, and I'm sure that Paul will be looking for more at the Nürburgring, which he has more of an affinity to, and I do expect Paul Smith to continue his winning record later on in the season at the circuit of Bathurst. So we'll see whether that happens or not, but unfortunately, though, for what we have here today, that is all that we have time for when it comes to the European majors. A massive thanks to all the drivers, all the teams, everyone at the majors for making sure that this gets itself done. And of course, to everyone who gets it done here at RaceSpotTV. Firstly, to And Wern Designs, the official graphics partners of RaceSpotTV. A massive thanks to TrackCams22. That is Istvan Ballo for you, doing a brilliant job of things once again. ATVO and Engineer, our official graphics engine here at RaceSpotTV, with animations done by Simon Grossman and our live timing and scoring by Nick Thyssen. Don't forget, it's not over at the moment here on RaceSpotTV. Live right now, this second, go over to it. Logical Classic IndyCar Series, Will Vincent, Jack Stiles, and they're running a short layout of Sebring, and it is glorious to be watching. But for the time being, that is a Mr. Connery Maddock. That is a Mr. Louis. And I am hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry. Let's not forget that the racing acumen here today was sublime. We had some great races to the end. Santiso held on. King was not close enough. Josh Wolf didn't get much though. Atulu's back. And Jamie Fluke is looking more dominant than ever. Stay with us on RaceSpotTV. Classic IndyCar. Well, it's with you right now. Have a good one.